So we will be starting the meeting now. I think somebody left their mic on accidentally. I would appreciate it if you could close it up so we don't hear the echo of my voice. Okay, thank you so much. So, good evening, interns. It's so good to see you all back here.
హలో
It's been quite some time since the
బిడ్డ
last.
ఏంలే అదేంది నువ్వు వేడున్నావు అని ఫోన్ చేసిన ఇక అమ్మమ్మ అవునా సరే సరే నేను ఈడ అమ్మమ్మ వాళ్ళ ఇంటికాడ ఉన్నా పోలే
Yeah, sorry for the interruption. Yes, so good evening, everyone. It's been quite some time since our last meeting, and I hope you all have been working on the assignment that we have given you. And we're all so excited to hear what you have prepared for us. Now, before we begin the meeting, I would like you all to get to know my co-team lead, Urvashi, who would be assisting me in this meeting. Urvashi, if you could just give a quick word of encouragement to the interns.
Hi everyone, my name is Urushi. I'll be your co-host for this meeting, and I am really looking forward to listening to all of your presentations. I just want to tell you guys that at any point, if you guys are hesitant, then feel free to just let us know about it. Everyone is here to support you, and there is no need to feel scared, although it's very natural to feel scared, but everyone is here to encourage you.
Thank you so much, Urvashi. Now, before we move on forward, I would like you all, if you could please switch on your cameras so we can make this session a little more interactive. If you all could do that, please. Thank you, Shambhavi. Rest of all, yes, please switch on your cameras so we can make this more, more one-on-one experience. Okay, thank you so much. So everyone who is going to speak, please switch on your cameras. So before we begin the meeting, just like Urvashi mentioned, please know that this is a safe space for you to share your ideas. There is no absolute need for perfection. We just want to know what you, felt reading the material we provided you, what challenged you, what, stepped out to you. So, yeah, please feel free to share your ideas. Now, let me just quickly go through a few rules. So, I'm assuming all of us were present at the last meeting. So, those who are not present, in this meeting, we would be going through all of your presentations on the topic that we gave you. Now, each of you all will get 3 minutes. So it would be 3 minutes per individual to present their ideas. And like I mentioned in the group, those who are unable to present their own PPT, we would be presenting for them instead. So far we have 5 interns for whose PPT we would be presenting. I'll just quickly go through their names. In case anybody is left, let me know. Aparna, Muskan, Prajwal, Kohana, and Anam. Apart from these 5 interns, I would be expecting you all to present your PPTs yourself. Okay, so like I mentioned, the time limit is strictly 3 minutes. So once 3 minutes are about to go over, at the 2-minute mark, Urvashi will give you a slight, nod that your meeting time is about to be over. She would give a thumbs up hand signal for you to get to know that the time is almost going to be over. So you do not take much longer. Okay, so I think we are clear with the rules. So shall we begin? Yeah, please show some excitement, guys.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay. Thank you, Muskan. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so like mentioned before in the group chat, we will start with Ayushi.
Hello, I'm trying to share my screen, but I cannot. It says that host has disabled it. So, host
Uh,
disable attendee screen sharing.
okay, Ayushi, allow me a moment, please.
Sure.
Yes, Urushi, you can share your screen now.
Just a second, please.
Uh, yes, Ayushi, you can present your screen now.
You're on mute actually, so we can't hear you.
I'm so sorry for that. The screen is visible, right, to everybody? All right. Okay. So, uh, I found some unique educational plans while going through the current NEP, and to sum it all up in like three or four points. First, I would like to mention about the no silo secondary education, where the art versus science versus commerce hierarchy seem to break apart, and students can have the autonomy to choose subjects and across disciplines, like study physics, fashion design, and environment together, more like an interdisciplinary and cross-disciplinary approach. This multidisciplinary exposure is indeed the need for the hour, and we can see this kind of educational framework very much prevalent in American educational aspects, and even in universities, they go by this very framework, emphasizing more on students' autonomy over their over the given standardized academic choices. And the next would be peer tutoring programs, like where high performing students like earn service credits by tutoring peers under teacher supervision, solving the problem of it kind of solves the problem of approachability. We still have that fear to approach the teachers. We still have that barrier. We still have the demarcations, which is still very much a problematic issue. There is still a level of discomfort in communication between student and teacher. So this peer tutoring might just be able to dissolve that. And the last I found quite interesting is the lab integration ethos, where I felt this the ethos lab integration where researchers on ancient Indian contributions and you know implementing it into modern scientific issues. Like I feel like that it will dismantle the colonial hangover we are still in, and aiming at asking certain very fundamental philosophical questions like how, why, and what. Um, okay, the challenges and the critical gaps. Firstly, the Anganwadi worker burdens, as it is, they are not uh, considered as government workers. They still have that honorary volunteer title. As it is, they are overburdened and underpaid. Uh, they are expected to give an holistic holistic caregiving and holistic education to students, uh, and I think they might feel under motivated to do that. And the second would be the migrant worker children. They still so the children of migrant workers drop out owing to their seasonal change in habitat. So, the words of migrant workers lack a portable student ID that will allow the child to move between states with different languages, all the while maintaining the academic continuity. And the last would be the linguistic gap and the cognitive dissonance. So, the policy also suggests that teaching mother tongue until grade 5. Then after that transitioning uh, so when while this transition happens, we see that there is a neurological cognitive dissonance happening that occurs when a child suddenly switches their technical vocabulary from a mother tongue to English in sixth grade. That's why the language education in India still faces a linguistic trauma. Different school boards emphasizes on English differently. Some emphasizes more or some emphasizes less. State boards, they emphasize English a lot less than CBSE or ICSE. So this creates a predicament for students when they enter university levels. As far as suggestions and practical solutions go, I feel like students of migrant workers, let's begin with that, should have a valid portable student ID for the case of admission and a very substantial educational map that will allow the teacher in a new city to know where exactly the child's literacy level stands. And the second would be the major and minor courses structure. So this policy advocates for no hard demarcation between arts and science. So while brilliant for multidisciplinarity, it ignores stress and cognitive load as well. So if a student is studying quantum physics and then shift to Kathak dance and then again back to data science, there in a single afternoon, the cognitive load becomes a lot. They can't register it. They can't absorb it. So basically rendering all information obsolete. So I feel like there should be a major and a minor. So all major courses should be taught in the beginning of the week, and minor courses should be taught the latest stage of the week. So they can divide their attention span accordingly. And last would be the trans languaging approach. So India still has language inequity, as we all know. So the trans-languaging approach tackles the language inequity. So by by integrating a bilingual approach. So bilingual approach should be taken into consideration where a standardized bilingual technical dictionary would be created where terms are always taught in pairs. It should be taught in mother tongue as well, and then through direct grammar translation they should be taught in English as well. So the major gulf that we were talking about in linguistic education can be bridged right from grade 1. um, that's all. Thank you.
Yeah, this was a really great presentation, Ayushi. You can stop sharing your screen now. Yeah, unfortunately, it did go a little over the prescribed time limit. So please be sure to make sure that doesn't happen again. Otherwise, I did like the points. I like the solutions that you gave. I thought it was very well detailed. You also talked about the Anganwadi section, and you also talked about other minority sections that exist in the society. So I think it was a very inclusive presentation that you gave here, and I really liked it. Thank you.
It was a really great presentation, Ayushi. I also like the creative effort that you put into it. It was very visually pleasing, I would say. And in addition to that, the points that you made were very, like Urvashi mentioned, solution oriented. So, a great job. Everyone else, How did you like Ayushi's PPT, Ayushi's presentation? If you could just react with some emojis, that would be great. Some, some encouragement. Okay, thank you. And Ayushi, just like Urvashi mentioned, it did exceed the 3 minutes mark. So for the upcoming presentations with the interns, what are we are planning is instead of emoji reaction, which the presenter is unable to see, Urvashi would once 2 minute time mark is up, you can just on your mic and give them a little nod that 2 minutes are up. It would be a little interrupting, but that's the only solution we have. So just so you know that you guys are about to reach the time. Okay. So as planned, Ayushi goes first. Now we shall move in the sequence. Your names are presented here in the chat box. Uh, can we start with Akansha next?
I'm sorry, I did not check the chat box. Am I audible?
Yes, you are. Not the chat box, the presentation, participation name.
Okay, done. Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is, Akansha.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. I'm Akanksha, and I'm gonna do a quick analysis of the National Education Policy 2020. I'm gonna talk about the unique points, some of the missing areas, and some of the practical suggestions as well. So after reading the document, some of the unique points that I thought were unique were I've written it down here. The first one is teaching of Indian Sign Language. This actually the students who are here who have hearing impairment. This if you look at some of the stats, it stands out as one of the problems why um, differently able students drop out from schools because they can't understand what the teacher is saying or can't take in all of the information. So if the NEP 2020 is able to teach all of the students and teachers Indian Sign Language, that would be a unique point, a unique measure. There's also bagless period for 10 days in a month. Every month there will be a bagless period for 10 days for especially for vocational programs, if I'm not wrong, where the kids will be sent to somewhat called an internship where they can get practical experience, which I thought was quite amazing because we after coming to bachelor's or masters, we are getting this kind of vocational training. That kind of experience getting to school kids would be an amazing thing. The third one is 360-degree report card, not just focusing on the academics, but is the kid doing well in sports, in communication, um, in labs, etc., and not just focusing on one thing, which is academics. The next is incentives for teaching jobs, where it was mentioned that volunteers will be chosen to one-on-one tutoring for one-on-one kids. So because for one teacher to do all of it would be a big task. So this incentive part is actually an amazing I thought was creative because it creates motivation for the teachers to give their best while teaching as well. Sharing of
So,
teachers. Okay. Sharing of teachers is another like for example how it happens in universities, guest lecturers where the subject experts would come and teach the students. The next is Anganwadis co-located with primary schools so that there's seamless transition from Anganwadi and directly to the pre-primary. The next is missing areas. After reading the entire document, I did not find menstrual health anywhere mentioned in the document, which I found was missing because this policy goes up to 12th standard students. So I think it's important that school level education gives girls some basic education on menstrual, not just girls, but also boys. There's nowhere we have talked about socially weak or disadvantaged societies, but not about urban poor or the migrant children, as the previous speaker talked about. Migrant children also have a lot higher dropout statistics. So that is one. Another one is regular health checkups, where students can get this free health checkups, and I thought was missing. The next is actionable implementation plans. A critical perspective of my perspective is that we can't call it too optimistic or of an approach, but the policy needs strenuous root level changes to be achieved. What I have thought is it lacks the how part. How do we train the vast number of teachers? How do we reach all of these objectives? How do we get all of the funds that need to be implemented? How do we transition from the present teacher centric approach to how do we go from teacher centric to the student centric approach? Practical suggestions, I thought some of the most I've took it some specific topics for these suggestions. The first one is cluster teacher training, whereas teachers will be trained in groups and not just single one-on-one teaching sessions, because that might take a lot of time and effort. Encouraging offline digital content, because we need to take note of the digital divide that's prevalent in India, because internet doesn't go to the rural areas of India. So encouraging offline digital content is one of the suggestions. And also one smart classroom per school. I thought this was practical, because you can't expect a sudden change where one school has, let's say, 10 smart classrooms. So I thought one smart classroom per school would do great. The last one is mother tongue. Preferably in the document, preferably it was till grade 8. But as the previous speaker told, it would be the transition would take a lot of time from the student. I think would get used to their mother tongue, and getting transition to the official language English would be a bit of a task. So my suggestion was that the mother tongue needs to be as a used as a medium of instruction, um, and not as the entire teaching of the subject. Yes, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Akanksha. It was a very great presentation. I mean, from your presentation, it was quite evident that you invested quite some time, in reading the documents and everything. I really like your clarity of thought you had with this one. The PPT, I really like it was not too detailed or, too short. It was just the optimal length. So it was actually a really great presentation. Uh, yeah. And again, we were exceeding the time limit. I mean, I understand if we have put, so much time and effort in understanding something, we just, we can talk about it for hours and hours and hours. It's same with me as well. Time management is a very, crucial component. So uh, let's just be mindful, everyone. And I know mistakes can happen. If someone has invested so much time in, reading something, it can happen. But yeah, so we are on a little time crunch. But again, Akansha, it was a really, really great presentation. It was, if somebody who does not even have any much background of NEP, your presentation gave them, it was a very, how do I put it? If somebody does not have a background, he would also understand. So it was very great. Thank you, Akansha.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, can we have Madhuri?
Sure. Is my screen visible?
Yes, Madhuri, it is.
So, okay, good evening. So I'll be discussing only one point because I don't want to take much of your time now. So the one challenge that I noticed in NEP 2020 was that it promised about including co-curricular activities in schools. However, I feel that the document looks promising, but the ground reality is far from what we expect to achieve. Because the co-curricular activity, as we know, we have a vast list of co-curricular activities that can be included, but we are also aware of the ground realities. So So the 3 points that I would like to point out here is, we are aware how the society is today. The teachers and parents, they are not very willing to accept the change. They are not very willing towards their kid learning a sports and not paying enough attention to the academics. We still judge the scorecard. We judge a kid through their scorecard. We do not count their medals. And it's not only about these sports, it's about other activities also, that includes music, dance, and whatnot. Literary activities are given weightage. In fact, the teachers also have the same mindset, uh, uh, and the parents also. We need to really work on the very foundational basis to get that changed. And that requires a very long time, because I don't think anyone can change their mindset in a like 1 or 2 days, or just with a curricular update. Second point was integrating academic with development of co-curricular activities, because if we are talking about giving equal weightage to both the things, then I believe that would be a difficult task, because we are trained to devote 100% efficiency towards the academic or the written or the learning ability, but we are not trained to devote the similar time for other activities, because these activities are not really considered very good, as in our society at least. Again, the funding and infrastructure is very scarce for the Indian government schools. We have no proper idea about how these government schools are funded, how the infrastructure will be
Correct,
developed.
Sarah.
Yeah, how these things will be developed. Sorry, how these infrastructure will, how these teachers will be trained. So we lack these things on the very foundational basis, so that will make the implementation difficult. So the practical solution that I would suggest, I think this is not an ideal solution, but I believe that can at least help solve the problem. We can encourage teachers and parents participation. If we try to involve teacher and parents in activities, in co-curricular activities, the student will also get motivated. They will start feeling that this activity means something. The teachers also and parents also will be convinced that their children is in the right hands, and they are learning something productive. It will also help foster a very healthy relationship in the school between teachers, students, and parents. And they will be able to learn more, and the children will be able to grasp more. Other than that, I can suggest one, like we should have more practical demonstrations in schools. We should encourage that, because in colleges I have seen there are industrial visits. Similarly, we can have in school, we can have them some ground visits, so that they can get practical real life examples of how things work. Rather than teaching in books, we can get them on fields and show them actual how things work. So again, this will help them grasp the concepts effortlessly. I know this is not a very practical solution, because this does not go really well with the co-curricular activities, but I believe this can really help them gain or like it will help them broaden their mindset. So that's all that I would like to present today. Thank you for paying attention.
Thank you, Manvi. It was a really great presentation. I mean, I totally agree with you on this point. Development of a child is not a single construct. It's a multi-dimensional concept with all societal, environmental, and these sorts of factors. And your presentation was very much focused on ground zero realities. I very much appreciate that. It was overall a very nice presentation. I like how you have talked about things that are there, but they're not much focused upon. We are all in this developing this policy and that policy, but we are not really tackling the problem that is present in the ground zero, that is of the mindset on on how these policies should be implemented. One thing I would say, the solutions that you presented, just like you also mentioned, could have been more specific on how exactly we can achieve that, but overall it was a great presentation. Thank you, Madhvi.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, can we have Akshit next?
Hello, good evening. Is my screen visible?
Yes, Akshit, it is.
Okay. So, Uh, Good evening. So I will present on NEP. So, all right. First, we'll go for introduction. So, NEP policy was introduced in 2020, and its main idea was helping children learn from an early age, which I think is the main priority, because if they have a good learning and a good base, then they can easily cope up with challenges that come in future. And it's not just by memorizing, but by understanding concepts. It supports flexible learning and also use of mother tongue. Other than that, it also integrates when we get to higher up, like college level, it integrates other languages too. Well, currently there's also a three language debate, but that's a different topic. All right. So ideas that stood out to me. Well, the main idea that stood out to me was the FLN strong focus, because I did a research, and in that only about 42% of students who were in class 5th in government schools were able to read texts meant for class 2nd students. So I think that's a very big concerning issue. If we do not focus on that, no matter how much we invest in our education, a student who can't even learn class 2nd text will not be able to achieve much, even if we do other help. Second is that it has actually acknowledged the weak early learning effects, which was not present in the past education policy. If we focus on that, it also excluded ages 3 to 6, which was, I think, a big issue, which NEP has improved, and I really commend them, because they did not have this age group bracket in the previous education policy. So I think it's a revolutionary transformation, and will actually help in the FLN learning. And I hope that number, that is 42%, gets to 100% as soon as possible. So missing areas which I found was that all of this is especially strengthened, and the mention of Anganwadi workers, but the workload on them and motivation needs deeper attention. Also, rural urban infrastructure gap. We know there's massive inequalities, and digital learning is not accessible to all. Many households can't afford such infrastructure. Now, I have written that last point because one of the solutions that I suggest is the use of Diksha platform or digital infrastructure of knowledge sharing, for which we can just allot 5% of the Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan budget that is been allotted to the teacher learning, and it will mainly help you about to boost your education by 30%. It's proven in states like Madhya Pradesh and Himachal Pradesh, so that's a proven idea. So, now some critical perspectives. Well, policy vision is ambitious, but state-wise, it definitely varies. Like state like UP is very different from a state like Himachal. For there, you need more infrastructure in UP all across. Also, there's like within state disparities. West UP is way more developed than East UP, so that also needs to be taken care of. Well, teacher training reforms require sustained funding and monitoring, for which I think it's recommended that India should give 6% of its total budget to education. Well, that's at the current scenario not possible according to diplomats. So I think the Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan's budget should be tweaked a little bit to Diksha platform. Well, some practical suggestion are pilot implementations before a nationwide rollout. I mean, it's already been done in Himachal Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh. We can even test it in states like Uttar Pradesh, which I think will be the best state to test it out. If it works in UP, I think it can work in majorly any state in India. We need to strengthen teacher support, because Anganwadi workers are massively unpaid. One of my masis is an Anganwadi worker, so I can speak from my experience. And we should use community based solutions too. We should encourage more parents teacher meeting. We should encourage a more community based learning platform and some offline solutions, because not everybody can afford mobile phones, laptops, or even the second hand mobile phones. So I think, yeah, if we use Diksha platform, then it will be a big issue. If there's nothing to it, thank you.
Thank you, Akshay. It was a great presentation. I really like how you introduced the background of NEP before starting the presentation, just to ensure all the listeners are on the same page, on the same background. That was really great. I really like the practical solutions that you have presented. You have well thought the solutions on how they can be implemented and where they can be implemented. So it was really great. Yes, and I also like the structure, the way you structured your PPT. It was very clear and well formatted.
Thank you,
It was
ma'am.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ashwin. Next, can we have Anam, please?
Yes, ma'am, over here.
Anam, you have shared your PPT with me.
Right, right.
Allow me a moment to share my screen.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping my screen is visible to you all. Anam, you
Yes,
may
it is.
start if it is.
All right, yeah. Good evening, everybody. I'm Anam, and today I will voice my opinions on National Education Policy 2020. Let's first gather the insights, recognize the lacunae, and analyze them. At last, I will put forth the solutions that are fitting to the given problem. The reforms that were distinctive to me were the following two. The very first one was removal of hard separations between streams. Now, this leads to an integrated learning environment where individual needs with creative combinations could be tailored, eliminating hierarchies where science is often deemed superior to arts. For instance, a student can now pick physics, a science subject, with art or fashion studies, or biology with music. Second, the emphasis on school libraries or transformation complexes. Now, this acts as a social hub promoting culture of reading with variegated digital repositories. This turns a private school asset into a public resource. Ma'am, could you please move the slide? Oh, ma'am, could you please move on to the next slide? Right. So this acts as a social hub promoting a culture of reading with variegated digital repositories. Could you move on to the next one? Right. Let's now move forward and have a quick glance over the gaps and vicissitudes if not kept in check. The preclusion of student body in the academic framework. Now, the nine-member committee that was convened or constituted by K. Kasturi Ranjan, a former ISRO chairman, fails to incorporate any student agency in the parleys or discussions that have already taken place. Now, without including the student voices, the 360-degree feedback that is often being talked about remains a sheer tokenism. Second, lack of clear instructions in the 10-day bagless period. There has been absolutely no clear guideline on what is to be done in the 10-day bagless period. Now, this may lead to a very lackadaisical demeanor. Some teachers of students may even render it as a holiday. Therefore, a very clear message that is the emphasis here may be lost. Furthermore, multiple oversight entities functions. Now, the departments, the HRD or the Human Resource Departments, the WCD, the Health and Family Welfare, the Tribal Affairs, which are supposed to collaborate, will have no single command center. Now, this leads to a very diluted accountability, absolving key responsibility, therefore losing momentum. At last, mother language versus the movement throughout India. Let's take a child moving from Karnataka whose daily parlance is in Kannada to Delhi where Hindi is widespread. He would face a total collapse in their learning continuity and advancement. Therefore, it might create a very linguistic barrier sort of thing, making it harder for children to grasp, especially from the rural backgrounds or the ones that are reeling under poverty, to compete in a global world where English still remains the lingua franca. The solutions that I would like to put forth in order to remedy the solution The issue underlined beforehand are the following: integrating the heterogeneous student voices and ingraining them. Therefore, adopting a system rooted in reality, ensuring that all the key stakeholders are not missed out on. Second, defining clear and lucid rubrics to articulate the long term benefits for the 10-day bagless period so that the entire period remains extremely effective and productive. Third, establishing a nodal command center to ensure accountability in interdepartmental meetings where responsibility is upheld. And lastly, create a real-time translation tools with bilingual features so that the same student moving from Karnataka to Delhi has access to the same module in Kannada through a tablet, even if the classroom is being taught in Hindi. That's it from my side. Thank you for being such patient listeners.
Thank you, Aman. Your points were really great. I liked the overall presentation that you gave. Just one thing is that you were speaking a little too fast, so it might be, an issue for people to understand what you were saying. And another thing is that we understand that a lot of you have written your speeches down, and we completely support that. Just one thing is that. Uh, Please don't read your entire um, speech that you have written. So please make sure that that doesn't happen again.
I agree with you, Rishi. Anam, it was a great presentation, but again, uh, I mean, not specifically for you, but for everyone, this is supposed, we're supposed to share ideas and thoughts and whatever you felt at the moment. So, just be raw, be natural. There's no need to, uh, put it up as this, you're gonna get no marks for this. So, whatever you felt, whatever challenges you faced, or whatever critical points you thought were good, just present it in a natural conversational way. But Anam, it was again a great presentation. It was very, a well balanced presentation, and if it was neither too, broad, neither too long, so it was great. Thank you, Anam.
Ritika, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. And once again, I don't want to remind you and poke you guys again and again. Please switch on your cameras. I really don't want to, keep repeating this. Please switch on your cameras to make this session a little more interactive. Thank you. Next, we have Aparna.
I do have something to say. I'm so sorry for interrupting. Can I go
Yes,
ahead?
yes, Ayushi, please go ahead.
So I do recognize your point on not reading out our presentation, and I do acknowledge it. But at the same time, it would be really considerate of you to acknowledge the fact that I'll just come on camera. Yeah, it's acknowledge the fact that constricting so many points into 3 minutes is an Herculean task, and it can't happen in a conversational way. So when we are having a conversation, it will naturally exceed the time limit. So a 3 minute uh, is a little too less of a time. So that's gonna be my request, and I guess most of you also agree to it, maybe. So about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ayushi. You're absolutely right. It is difficult to sum up all your points in 3 minutes, but this is a learning process. We all are here to learn something, and time management is one of the very crucial things when it comes to conversations and presentations. Though we acknowledge the challenge you all will face in presenting it in 3 minutes, but uh, we know it's not going to be perfect, and you're not going to remember all your points. We're not asking you all to just be do not look at anything, but what we suggest is, instead of writing a script, make notes of what you have to speak. You can write it in a few pointers. Okay, I have to talk about this topic, and this is the specific area that I'm going to focus on this topic. uh, to be honest, you won't, suddenly know it, but through practice and through these repeated sessions, you all will know it. And please note that we are not demeaning anybody's hard work here. You all have worked really hard on your presentations, and it is very visible. We just, trying to make you learn on a few more things and trying to, grow and improve all together. So it is a difficult task, but that's what we need to learn. Um,
Uh,
now,
Hi, excuse me. If it's not a problem, can I go after Aparna? I'm not really feeling great. I'm down with fever. So can I go after Aparna if it's not really a problem?
yeah, sure, you can go after Aparna.
Yeah, thank you.
Aparna, can we have you first?
Hi, am I audible? The thing is, my camera has an issue right now. I make sure I'll get rectified next time. But then I've been trying it since morning and it's not. I hope it's fine.
Yeah, Aparna, no worries. Please make sure it is better next time. You have
Rectified.
shared your PPT with me. I'll
Yes,
share my screen. Just allow me a moment.
that would be great. Thank you. All of your slideshows are like super great, and like I just want to appreciate everyone who has been presenting. Sorry. Thank you for presenting. So, am I audible to everyone? Just want to confirm
Yes,
that.
you.
Good morning, everyone. Today we'll be talking about the NEP policy of 2020. I'll be showing what's good about it, what's the problem, and what we can actually do to fix these. Next slide, please. The policy talks about the big issue, big problems. More than 5 crore students in our schools cannot read, write, or do basic math. To solve this, NEP made a new plan which is the 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. This means this children on the age of 3 to 6 now start learning in school through early childhood care. NEP wants all students to read and do basic math by grade 3. The end goal is by 2025. How? By using peer tutoring. Older students help younger students by using community volunteers to help teachers. Why is this important? Because if students cannot read and write, nothing else matters. Everything starts here. See, as a law student myself, we study rights and constitution, but the right to good education is the most important one, right? Without education, other rights means nothing. That's why this policy matters to us. Next slide, please. But when it comes to looking at the reality, we have problems. The policy have four big gaps, one being the quality control. The policy says that Anganwadi workers will get quick training in the early childhood education. But who checks if they teach well? How do we make sure millions of children actually learn? The policy doesn't mention that. And the second one is, I think already it's mentioned, how exams still controls everything. The policy talks about fun creative learning, but board exams still decides everything. Parents still push children to tuitions, because I remember back in my exams, back in my 10th bank boards, I remember marks matter still the most. Still tuitions happen. The policy does not change that. Exams are still the boss. And then the teachers are tired. The policy asks teacher to do many things: continuous teaching, using technology, teaching all types of students, talking with parents. But teachers already do so much paperwork. We add more work without removing the old work. This is not fair, and the teachers will end up being burned out. And then not all schools have electricity. The policy says using smart classrooms and digital libraries they encourage, but many villages schools does not even have electricity or internet. For example, in Odisha alone, more than 1,500 government schools, including 1,000 to 89 primary and 290 upper primary schools, still function without electricity. This technology push will widen inequality and not reduce it. Next slide, please. So, what can we do? Here are the four ideas that can work. One is, I think, is already mentioned. Teachers from nearby schools meet each month. They watch over each other's teachings. They plan lessons together. They share problems and solutions. This is a cheap and teachers learn from each other. Next is making learning totally local. We ask self-help groups to make storybooks in local languages, number cards, making them here and not getting imported from outside. They cost less and children like stories in their own language too. Next is sharing special teachers. One trained specialty educator can work for 4 to 5 schools together. This costs less money, and all uh, children with disabilities still gets help. And the next can be short summer classes. Next slide, please. So, what is my final thoughts? NEP 2020 is a good policy on paper. It sees the real problem, but the good policy on paper is not enough, right? What really matters is, do we have the money to do this? Do we check if it's working? Do we listen to teachers and parents? If we don't do these things, the policy is just a set in files. It's just there. Nothing will change other than that. So, yeah, thank you about it.
Thank you, Aparna. It was a really great presentation. I really like the solutions that you have proposed, especially the local kid, solution. I also believe that this would help us get out of that colonial mindset that we have been, have since a very long time. Culture is a very big part of a child's learning, and providing material and kids in culturally relevant examples would be a really great way for someone to develop multidimensionally. So I especially like that solution very, very much. And overall, I really liked your presentation. I mean, it was very clear. It was your points and your clarity of thoughts. I really like that you had a vision for the problems that you proposed. So it was a great presentation. Thank you, Aparna. Thank you. Now we have Minasha. Sorry if I'm butchering your
Yes,
name.
yeah, all right. It's Mimansha.
Yeah. Please go ahead.
Yeah, just start presenting. Is it visible? Am I audible?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Okay. So we have this national education policy after about, I guess, 34 to 36 years now. So that itself explains that on this education policy, a great weightage falls. Just give me a second. I'm having some problem. I'm audible, right?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Yeah. So a great weightage falls on it. So the major provisions that I listed out in this NEP 2020 was first to the previous speaker already spoke about it, 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. Second was the major shift that was in GDP. So far, education was given about 1 to 2% maximum of GDP because it was not really a great talk for vote banks. But now it's 6% GDP, which is again, realistically, we are at 4.5, something around that. Talks about multidimensional skill-based learning over rote learning. And lastly, emphasis on mother tongue till grade 5, which I guess so far everyone has spoken about, identified as a problem. So challenges for me is NEP is so broad in nature. Uh, it is very holistic, but also NEP feels somehow superficial to me because we're in a society where I recently visited a school back a month back. The headmaster was saying students of class 8, boys mostly, they drop out because they have to go back to their they have to earn for their family. So we're still in that society, and NEP talks about 100% gross enrollment rate by 2030. That is somehow very superficial, though it is a very it's a good policy on paper, but implementation, I'm sure it'll take a lot of time. State corporations, even today we see the many states, one I can point out is Tamil Nadu, which is kind of oppositioning this policy, and without state cooperation there, I don't think NAP can kind of have its success. Then again, we talk about current enrollment rate in higher private right now in schools. It's very high. So dealing with that, again, fund allotment. There's no proper fund allotment. There's no sustainable fund for all these programs talking about. Teachers, how they're gonna train, nothing is. Everything is ambiguous. The the language in the policy itself is very ambiguous to talk about. They talk about training the teachers, but they do not talk about how. I guess the second speaker was telling about NEP talks about what to do, but doesn't talk about how to do. That is what I was thinking about. And social challenges, like I told you, still today, girls don't go to school. They have this dropout rates after after when they reach secondary school. Why? Because those schools are about like. 3 to 5 kilometers away from home. So the parents usually prefer them sitting at home and doing those chores rather than traveling that much of time and wasting the time which could have used in the household chores. So we're still in that society, and even though I don't want to demean the policy itself, but it feels like a far-fetched. I mean, like, I hope as a country it works, but still it feels like a sort of far-fetched policy. I think, yeah, it's a great policy initiative. Linguistic derivatives, like everyone talk about, there's a lot of demerits. The policy gaps, which I'll talk about, and PPP. I guess this is one of the best thing that NEP did, the private-public partnership, which is very important because we get with government schools right now we have a lot of problems with the infrastructure, with the outdated syllabus, with the enrollment, with the closing down of schools. So private partnership is one ideal thing that the government can do. Gaps again, there's no proper stakeholder mapping. When you form a policy, basically stakeholders are one of the most important, most crucial part of the policy. And with education being on the concurrent list, and with the government coming up with this scheme without the state doesn't have, more or less state doesn't have a say on this. In fact, the government has in this policies explicitly mentioned that there will be a community or a group of teachers, and the state cannot in fact say anything on it. So these are the things that, and it's also very largely criticized as a centralized policy, which is a bit of a drawback because education is on concurrent, like I said. And again, this I think this would have been better. NEP would have been better if it was a pilot scheme uh, done on a smaller scale and tested out. It would have gone much broader, much far. One is data availability. We are on 2011 census. We are running on assumptions right now. On what basis are we going to form policies? On what basis are we going to bring changes? I do not understand. I mean, there's no proper, there's no efficiency without data. So that's one gap. Suggestions, yeah, I wish it was, like I said, a gradual implementation. It has come like it's a big bang. And I mean, it's a great policy. We have adopted a lot from the foreign countries, but it's also a big bang for a society like India, where we're still developing and growing. And for like vocational, we can resource people from the local area itself. But like, we have this SHGs, they're very good with crafts, and they're very good with sewing. For all these things, we can resource from this so that we can generate an income for them. And also it can be beneficial for the school as well. And a better integration of all institutions at different stages. This is one thing that this policy again lacks, because if we look at policies like Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, it seeps in every level. There seeps institution level seepages there. But here we do not talk about social welfare, we do not talk about health, we do not talk about nutrition. So these are the drawbacks. And accountability, like most of you talked about. So yeah, that's for me. Thank you. I'm sorry, I guess it took a lot of time. I'm really sorry.
Thank you, Vinasha. I mean, it did took more than 3 minutes, but it was great. I mean, I really like your take on NEP. I also agree with you that while implementing NEP, it would have been better if you had some more accompanying changes for society, us and the infrastructure to be more prepared for the new education policy, so it would have been more efficient and we could see the changes. Uh, but it was a great presentation. I really like your takes on this one. Thank you, Minashrit. Uh, Next, can we have Athar?
Ma'am, if there's no problem, can I go next for the presentation?
Yes,
Okay.
Gayatri. You may go after Athar if you don't mind, since I have already.
Ma'am, I
Yes.
don't mind if she has some urgent work. I don't mind.
No,
I'll go.
I don't have any urgent word. If you want, you can. Otherwise, I will. If ma'am doesn't have any problem,
So I have no problem. Yes, Gayatri, please go.
just give me a minute. I hope I'm audible as well as I'm visible to you all. Let me share my screen. Just a minute. Uh, just a minute. Please give me a minute. I'm sorry for showing you all my chats. Is my screen visible, ma'am?
Yes, Gayatri, it is visible.
Actually, I thought it will be better if I choose one particular topic to discuss or address, not the whole NIP as a whole for the 30 pages. So I choose one part of first part, chapter 6, that is equitable and inclusive education, which as I said, chapter 6 of National Education Policy 2022. To begin with, equality and inclusion. Uh, uh, Education means ensuring that every child, irrespective of their gender, caste, disabilities, um, economical background, or places of residence, and should get equal access or equal opportunity or equal support in education. Education is not about learning about subjects. It is powerful tool for social justice, as per my perspective. It helps break cycles of poverty, reduce inequality, create a more just and democratic society. Now, let's. This was a in this slide I have written about critical analysis of chapter 6, that is inclusion and education as a tool of social justice. Now, let's move forward to the unique provisions under this part of NEP. The first is a sectional definition of SEDGs. SEDGs means socio-economically, educationally disadvantaged group. First, the policy introduces an intersectional definition. That means about social economically disadvantaged groups. This means it recognizes that disadvantage is not based on a single factor like gender or caste, but often a combination of factors such as poverty, disability, language, location, social background. Second is NEP focuses on the establishment of special education zones. This educational goals, specific educational goals for these disadvantaged groups insist of general promises. The policy talks about measurable targets to improve access, retention, and learning outcomes. The third one is the policy proposes the creation of a gender inclusive fund aimed at supporting girls' education, especially in areas where gender gaps are higher, and ensuring safe and enable learning environments. Fourth, NEP aligns itself with the right of a person with disabilities act under in 2016, ensuring inclusive education. Is there any problem, ma'am?
No, you're just at 2 minutes.
Yeah, we cover it. This was under the fourth unique provisions of NEP. Now, next is missing areas or key challenges. That is identifying gaps under this a part of NEP. First is digital divides. Many students still lack access of devices, internet, and digital literacy, while which became very visible during online education, or, for example, during COVID. Second is limited teacher and capacity for inclusive education. Many teachers are not adequately trained to handle diverse classrooms, especially students with disabilities or learning difficulties. Third, the first generation learners often lack academic support at home, making it difficult for them to cope up with formal educational systems. Fourth one is migrant and urban poor children face frequent school disruptions due to migration, unstable housing, and lack of documentation. Now let's talk about the policy intent and ground reality. First is uneven implementation of capacity across states and cities and districts. Second one is over reliance on schemes without integrating them into strong and long-term institutional framework. Third is a deep-rooted social and cultural barriers like caste discrimination, gender biasness, language inclusive uh, that all affects access and participation. For this policy suffers for weak accountability mechanisms, making it difficult to track outcomes and fix failure implementations. Finally, some practical solutions or strategies for inclusive implementation. First is decentralizing district level inclusive planning. It should be adopted where local needs, data, and community realities guide educational interventions. Second is community bias monitoring and attendance tracking of students to ensure children remains in school, and especially those from vulnerable backgrounds by involving parents and local bodies or some NGOs like us. That was all about my presentation. If you give me the support. Now that's it.
Yeah, thank you, Gayatri. That was a really great presentation. You had some really nice points, and I loved I like that you pointed out what were the issues with the implementation of the NEP, and I really like you relating it with different acts as well. I think overall it was a really great presentation. I did notice that you were a little bit nervous there, and that's absolutely fine. I think like over time you will get over that nervousness, and I think overall it was a really great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, Gayatri, it was a great presentation. I completely agree with Urvashi. Um, yeah, again, wonderful presentation. Now we will have Athar. Athar, you may start, please.
Yeah, sure. Uh, is my screen visible and am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, wait. Yeah. So basically, uh, I actually took out a point which I especially liked and I would like to uh, show my views on. So this point was under point 4 of school education, curricular, which is curricular integration of essential subjects, skills, and capacities. These are my objectives. So what actually I felt was unique in this policy was that it almost covers all the topics which may help a student develop real world skills, and it may not make them rote learners, which is actually a bigger problem. And also health and physical education was given importance to in that policy. There was introduction of new age curriculum, which as the children are quick learners during that time of their age, so they may become more familiar and they may have a more clear approach in handling these technologies or skills. Also, introduction of mathematics in a younger age, it may help them develop these three qualities which I have listed: logical reasoning, critical thinking, and problem solving. Basically, introduction of puzzles and other types of quizzes. It would make mathematics more fun. Myself, I am scared of math. I was scared of mathematics during my whole school time. So this is actually a better opportunity for the students to grow and learn. Then vocational skills may help them reduce digital overexposure during their holidays, as children are more addicted nowadays to YouTube shorts and reels, and vocational skills might keep them busy. Also, subjects like ethics and constitution are included, which might make them an upstanding citizen. Also, introduction to the Indian knowledge system, or IKS, it may help them develop creativity and also provide an indigenous or traditional way of learning. It would provide an exposure to them. Next, I've listed some key challenges which I've seen around me in the schools. So there is a lack of infrastructure and financial autonomy which is provided. There are like lesser smart classrooms in government schools, and there is a lot less engagement in teaching the subject with enthusiasm. It is taught as theoretical, and there is also a lack of trained or skilled teachers in the open electives or vocational subjects. Most of the times the subject teachers only teach these subjects. There is less on ground implementation of policy. Also, skill development, if taught in this way, it might be taken as an assignment by the students rather than a new opportunity to learn. Also, there is a lesser incentive for children, as they might not benefit from these. They might not know the benefits right now of these policies because they do not have any examples of students which have actually used these skills to build their career or achieve their goals. So these were the key challenges. Also, critical perspective. According to me, the diversity in curriculum, which is introduced in the for the children of 6 to 8 standards directly, it would result in mental burnout and lesser focus in the curriculum, which is the main thing, as they would not perform well in neither of those. Also, learning about different sectors under these subjects, it may disorient the student from his goal, because a child might need one specific skill to actually have a leeway over others to reach his goal. But the NEP implements various types of skills and subjects which might divert his or her attention. Vocational courses, they actually may not have a real life application if the students take it as an assignment, as I've discussed. Ethical teachings, ethical teachings, they if exclude moral relativism, would be an straightforward indoctrination. Moral relativism is actually uh, the point where we see that something which is morally correct for me might not be morally correct for everyone else. So that's the point. I'll explain it further. The way of adopting indigenous learning of subjects is also a bit of a problem, because nowadays there is a modernized way of like solving problems in mathematics or learning theories. So it might affect the children, like what they should write in the exams. Also, most of the exposure provided to them is theoretical, and I have not seen any on-field experience which the student might gain. There is actually also no guide for the children that with skill development course for them specifically would provide a leeway over others. Also, the policy improvements, I have made some improvements. I have suggested some improvements actually. So, to ensure trained teachers, they should be employed for teaching that specific subject, so that there is that enthusiasm among students and both the teachers in learning that subject. And it would not be basic, as the teacher might have some advanced knowledge in that subject. Efficient decentralization of funds can be done for better infrastructure. Also, we can build a database for each and every student by assessing how much well they perform in the subject they like, and so, with that we can assign them their specific skill which might help them in the future. Also, engaging students in those subjects by having a practical approach and not just giving them assignments for writing, but also like showing them how they can implement the skill practically in their lives. Ensuring that the policy reaches the remotest of villages, because the children there, if they find no incentive, they drop out from the school directly. To make them aware about the time management so that they do not jumble up their work and they can execute everything systematically. Also, not just focusing on addition of more subjects, but rather focusing on the quality of the ones which are introduced. Practical suggestions, according to me, would be to reduce the introduction of more skills in natural sciences. As I saw in the document, most of the skills were related to AI, or they were related to coding like Python and all. So there should be more additions of skills in empirical sciences, as most of the students think that there is no future scope in empirical sciences, so we can just abolish that stereotype with that. Also, introduction of productive handling of technology should be done so that there is no the human capacity does not lack the technological advancements. Also, not teaching what decision is right, because in that ethics wala part, it was written that teaching the children to make what decision is right, but we should also teach them that how to make that right decision, because morality, it differs individually. Also, engaging those students in group discussion after lecture, it may help them develop rationality, and focusing on either traditional or modern learning so that it may not get complicated for the students. Also, there was a lack of self-employment skills which were not present in the document, as I saw, and it may help them further to be self-reliant. Also, adopting global education standards can be done under this policy so that the children might not find the need to leave the country for further studies. Uh, Actually, I was going to uh, present this with pointers, but sorry for that. And with this, I end my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Atharv. This was a really great presentation. I'm so sorry I'm not able to switch on my camera. But yeah, this was a really great presentation. I really liked your points. It was pretty sure that you went through the whole document and you brought forth some really critical points. And you also like in short, to give real life examples of how it, like, the policy is not able to reach the furthest of the rural sections, and how children might be very like eager to drop out of these sections because of like how, if it is not implemented properly. So I really like the critical points that you had, and even the solutions, they were also really well. So yeah, I think overall it was a very good presentation. Even the PPT was very nice. The points were presented in a neat and clear manner, and it was very easy to read. So thank you very much. Dhriti Jha, if you could go forward now.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay. So NEP is really, really close to me because as a liberal arts student, I can understand all the provisions that are already there in NEP. So the ECC, the Early Childhood Care and Education, so it educates students in the foundational years for critical learning and brain development. So this is a really crucial matter. Also, adding skill-oriented courses in the curriculum ensures that students are industry ready in the future. So, as college students, we can understand that how important it is to have skills more than having marks. Now, changing the 10 plus 2 education structure to 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 structure ensures that all students from all developmental stages are given attention, which is a priority in the current education system. Now, the missing areas. So, the digital divide that has been created by the NEP. So, since technology has been integrated in the curriculum, the lower sections of the society can't really afford this technology based educations because the technology equipments are really costly for low sections of the society. Now, health issues. So, exposing students to technology in early years can impact their health in long term. For example, eyesight. So, with increasing screen time, it can also impact on their eyesight. Now, special needs education. So, the inclusion is very well mentioned in the NEP, but the strategies and the implementations are been lacking in the NEP. So, in the first 30 pages of the NEP, these policies are very much limited. Now, talking about the critical perspective. So, the vision of universal ECC and foundational literacy by 2025 and 2030 is very ambitious. But India's current infrastructure and teacher student ratio makes this very difficult. Also, the policies implement highlights inclusivity, but the ground reality still persists. The caste, gender, and regional disparities that require more targeted interventions. Now, talking about the multilingualist aspect of the policy, homogenizes the major languages like the Hindi, English, and the scheduled languages mentioned in the constitution. But this leaves the tribal and the minority languages that are present in the remote areas of our country. Now,
2 minutes
addressing
are
the
up.
gaps. Dedicated funding mechanisms are very important. This ensures that ECC and foundational literacy programs receive the allocated budgets. Teacher equipment and training. Monitoring continuous professional development, especially in rural and remote areas, are very important to establish all the policies mentioned in the NEP. Now, monitoring frameworks, establishing independent bodies to track the dropout rates, literacy levels, and inclusivity outcomes are very crucial. And localized curriculum adaptation. So, this allows states to flexibly adapt NEP guidelines and regional contexts, languages, and incorporating social economic realities. Now, talking about practical solutions. So, since NEP has already incorporated a mother language that should be taught in the schools, we should also ensure that the tribal languages are also more for instruction for the students in remote areas. Also, engaging local scholars, writers, and elders to develop the culture and the curriculum in relevant materials for the students are important. Now, facilitating cross-state teacher training to build multilingualism teaching capacity. This will ensure that the difficulties in giving instructions are lesser and there is more flow in the teaching patterns in the states. Now, involving local stakeholders like panchayats, the women group, this ensures that they can address to the attendance and prevent the dropout rates that are prevalent in the current education system. So I would like to end my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dhriti. It was a wonderful presentation. I mean, I really liked how you focus of your education was on culture, how culture can shape an individual, and how culture-oriented solutions can be especially beneficial for children. I mean, we have talked about this before as well, but I also, the culture plays a very important role, and I appreciate you for recognizing that. It was a wonderful presentation, and I really like your views on the solutions that you propose. Thank you, Dhriti. We have Gayatri next.
Ma'am, I have already presented.
Thank you for confirming, Gayatri. Next, we have Ishita.
Ma'am, can I present it in a while, like after two presentations?
Sure, Ishita, no worries. Uh,
Thank you.
Pra- yeah, sorry, I forgot Prajal, if I'm not butchering your name. Prajal, you can present.
Yes, I'll share my screen.
Prajal, I think you have sent your PPT via email. If you are unable to present, I can present your document as well. Just let me know.
Yes, thank you so much. Can you please present my PPT?
Yes, just give me a minute. I'm hoping my screen is visible to you all. Prajal, you may start if it is.
Sure. So I'm going to start with the presentation. Can we move to the next slide? Okay, so these are the unique provisions or ideas that stood by me. So first is FLN, which is foundational literacy and numeracy. So the ability to read and write and perform basic operations with numbers is a necessary foundation and lifelong learning. And NEP exactly aims to improve the FLN. Secondly, that stood by me was multilingualism and the power of language, which is like advocating for the home language as the medium of instruction so that you can strengthen your foundations. Third is curriculum reduction. So, curriculum concepts will be reduced in each subject to its core essentials so that concepts that involve critical thinking, discovery, discussion, and analysis they are more highlighted. Moving ahead. So the key challenges. So first one I would like to describe is PTR, which is pupil teacher ratio. Now NEP prescribes a PTR of 30 is to 1 and 25 is to 1 in disadvantaged areas. However, as per the Ministry of Education figures 2025, so they state that the ratio in many states they are drifting well beyond 40 is to 1. Now the literacy rate is going up, but PTR is actually going down. So, for example, Bihar 2025, according to Bihar Additional Chief Secretary, 29 schools have no teacher at all, 354 schools make do with one, and around 3,000 schools scrape by with two. So second challenge would be social challenges and discrimination. So NEP advocated for social inclusion of all castes and promotes education for all irrespective of their background. Now recently a video got viral of a government school where many young students they confronted the reporter of discrimination against them because they were Dalits. So I don't. So this needs to be improved, especially in education, especially in schools. Thirdly, according infrastructural gaps. Now, according to the latest data, which is released by the government itself, it reveals that 10 lakh government schools, out of 10 lakh government schools, only 3.37 lakh schools, they have disabled friendly toilets, which accounts for around 33.2% of schools. And out, however, only 30% of them also they are functional, and over 14.71 lakh schools in India, up to 1.52 lakh schools have no functional electricity. Moving ahead, next slide,
2 minutes are up.
Okay, sure. I'll try to wrap it up soon. Now, critical perspective. So, NEP sounds good, but it has not been implemented effectively. Now, challenges like funding, teacher shortages, digital divide are still required. So, we see massive infrastructure deficits, especially in rural areas, and a severe lack of trained teachers. Next slide. Now, how do we address these gaps? First is funding. So uh, NEP was required to be funded for at least like 6% of the GDP, but currently only 3 to 4% of the GDP is been funded to education to NEP. Secondly, monitoring. So we shall include separate bodies for monitoring or checking if the work is done on ground level, and proper check of accounts and audits. Next slide. Now, one practical suggestion is decentralizing the policy by giving more power to municipalities, as they are closest elected bodies to schools. Now, they shall check and monitor teacher and student attendance, sanitation, finance, etc., and submit a monthly performance report. Although we need a proper system of checking and monitoring for the municipalities as well, as there's a high chance of corruption. So in China, like for example, China, they decentralize a lot of their policies. They give power to municipalities so that local bodies they work according to their own system, as they know the environment better. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Pravjal. First, I would like to mention your presentation. The PPT was very visually pleasing. I really like the colors and all those elements that you added to it. Secondly, I really like how you have engaged with relevant research already and mentioning the few practical examples like that you mentioned of China and the recent video and everything. So it's really great you see engaging with literature so early on. It was really great, and I liked how you put up this unique perspective of student teacher ratio, which is very crucial but is often overlooked because we fail to recognize the importance of these things. So overall, the PPT was very nice. The presentation was very good. I really liked how you have tried to sum up everything in once. So it was a wonderful presentation, Praj.
Thank you. Sorry for the technical disturbance in this that.
No worries. Next, can we have Shambhavi, I think?
Yes, ma'am, I'm presenting.
Yes.
I hope my screen is visible and I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Okay. So, while analyzing the document which was provided, there were several unique, interesting points that I noticed. The emphasis on role of climate change, which is an emerging issue, and it should be given the much needed attention. And from the spotlight from science to humanities, which is the traditional notion of weak students take arts, is truly outstanding to work on that. And next, the focus on infectious disease management of pandemics, as we have seen, which is very crucial, as we have seen during the time of COVID. Next would be I found this line very unique and outstanding, that education must build character. So we are moving towards making good humans alongside good professionals or good workers. So that's very interesting. And autonomy being prescribed for teachers good, because we have seen in Finland that teachers are very have autonomy, and they have the decision in their hands how to teach, what to teach, and that increases the quality of teaching. So, and shift from rote learning is very important, as I have seen in my college too, that we are uh, asked to write 15 pages of answers, but we don't know the conceptual clarity and we don't have the conceptual clarity. Next, the concerns I have, many of you have put very concerns that are there, but the main concern is that it is exceptionally well integrating ancient knowledge with modern touch, and it also focuses on character, language, mental health, which is very important. But I'm concerned about the proper implementation. I've seen that policies are very good on paper, but the gap lies from paper to ground reality. Next, how can these gaps be addressed? First thing to do is we can raise awareness and educate about this policy before educating the policy changes. So we need the students, teachers, and parents to know about the reforms and how will they it will affect the stakeholders, which are student, teachers, and parents. And we should also like change the mindset that teachers' job is just to go and sit in government schools, to that they are the shapers of the future of the nation and they should work diligently, and students should know about the changing reforms and how can they benefit from those reforms. Next is practical solution. I've only put one solution as the time suggests because there is a time shortage. So a campaign where NEP ambassadors are appointed and they should go to government schools and educate on the reforms brought in by NEP to government school teachers and students. These ambassadors could be college students who are already aware of the reforms or NGO volunteers. So that's all for my presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shambhavi. First of all, kudos to you. Your presentation was well within 2 minutes, but it was really great. I really like how concisely and how clearly you have put up your points. I really like the unique idea of, appointing ambassadors, as well as your emphasis on lesser talked about topics like environment and mental health. You have done your research well. It is very evident, and also I like your confidence while speaking. So it was a really great presentation. Good job, Shambhavi.
Thank you so much.
Um, no worries. Can we have Prahlad next? Prahlad ready?
Yeah, sure, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Is my screen visible, ma'am?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so good evening, everyone. I today I'm going to add my few words about the National Education Policy 2020, mainly focusing on the school education. So the innovative transformation I found is the 5+3+4 structure, which is different from the previous one and enables to students to grow step by step, and mainly builds a strong foundation on the early stages, and so this promotes the overall learning of the student. And the key challenges and the missing areas, like overall this policy is with good vision, but if you see in the reality, there's a huge difference between the policy and the ground conditions. And local Anganwadis and schools are not equipped with the proper infrastructure as mentioned in the policy, and mainly the staff and teachers are not trained accordingly to the latest reforms. Digital learning may not be possible to all children in rural areas due to some various network issues and all. And monitoring and properly maintaining such a large system is very difficult. And the focus on parents is lacking, like counseling and educating them. And ways to improve and suggestions I would like to give are instead of starting the whole thing in at a time, we can start the reforms in particular phases. Then next, strengthen the local Anganwadi schools. Next, first we should conduct the trainings and staff according to the policies mentioned in the national education policy, so they'll be well equipped and knowledge. And we can form committees and impose strict regulations to properly monitor and maintain the system. And we should frequently conduct parent interactive sessions. And first, main thing, we should conduct trials in selected schools, and if it's working, we could continue and implement some changes and continue in the larger scale. And collaborating with some top private schools can conduct interactive session between both the students and improve their knowledge. And performing yearly reviews may be essential, so to overall will be. Thank you.
Thank you, Prahlad. It was a great PPT. Again, it was very, concisely, and you have clearly put up your points. That's really great. Additionally, your focus on involving parents in, training them, counseling them in the curriculum, the importance that you have laid on it, it is very essential. I feel so too, that for a child to develop holistically, parents and the home environment is also very essential. So your emphasis on that, I really like that point of view of providing counseling to parents. Uh, yeah, and yearly reviews, we definitely need to keep track of all the, you know, policies and whatever logistics that are happening for a better, to see if the policies that are being rolled out are actually being implemented. Again, it was a really great presentation, Prahlad. I would just like to mention one thing. I understand the meeting has been going on for quite some time now, but we need to see more energy from you. So yeah, please next time, please be more energetic. Uh, First
Yeah, sorry
meetings
for
are
that,
like,
and thank you for this offer.
no worries.
I'll
Uh,
continue to improve my energy next month.
yeah, sure. I'll be looking
Yeah,
forward to that.
yeah. Thank
Uh,
you for.
Thank you, Prahlad. It happens in first meetings that, when we are interacting for the first times, the meetings might stretch on a bit. But I assure you, this is one-time thing, because speaking in front of the camera and presenting first is very crucial. After that, you all get used to it. So please keep your energies up high. Okay. Next, can we have?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Prahlad. Yeah, can we have Siddhangana, please? Sorry if I'm butchering your name. Siddhangana.
Ma'am, actually, I have some problem in my video, so next time I will try to switch on my video.
Sure, no worries. Please start.
Yes, ma'am.
You may start, Siddhangana.
Yes, ma'am. I'm just minute. Ma'am, I think it's visible now.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So, good evening. I'm Sudhangana, and I will be presenting the education policy in NEP 2020. So the points which I means the first, it introduces a new 5+3+3 4 school structure, which is more suitable for children's age and learning ability. Instead of forcing the small children to memorize textbook, they can learn through stories, games, visuals, and activities in the early years. It also gives an important to early child education. For example, children in Anganwadi or pre-primary classes are taught basic words, numbers before entering into a formal school. And another good step is reducing rote learning. Instead of learning answers by heart, students are encouraged to understand the concepts, and through projects, through group work, and through visuals, audio visuals. It encourages teaching in mother tongue or local language, which helps children understand the lessons better, especially in rural areas. So missing areas and challenges. So first is the policy does not clearly explain how it will be implemented equally in all the states. For example, in many rural schools, there are lack of digital facilities. During the classes, many students are not able to attend because they don't have smartphones and internet. And teachers are also expected to change the learning methods, because A teacher training traditional teaching may struggle with activity based learning without proper training. And also many government schools also lack basic infrastructures like libraries and labs, through which private schools may adopt the NEP better. So the critical perspective. So there is a clear difference of gap between the policies of ideas and in real world conditions. For example, assessment reforms talk about reducing exams, but many schools still focuses mainly on marks. Teaching in regional languages can also be difficult. In cities where students come from different states, many parts of the world, one common language may be hard to choose. Private schools also adopt the NEP better. They may introduce smart classrooms and new subjects, while the government schools still struggle with resources. This can increase the inequality between the students and the teachers. And how these gaps can be addressed. The policy should be implemented slowly and gradually, not by just means not by just going through like in 1 day or 2 day. We can't implement the policy, and more funds and resources should be provided to the government schools, so that the schools can introduce new subjects and can implement basically labs or smart classrooms if needed. Then teachers should receive regular and practical training. Workshops can help the teachers learn new teaching methods. Better coordination between the central and the state government can help ensure of smooth implementation of the policies. And practical suggestions, simple learning methods can be implemented along with technology. For example, teachers can use charts, flashcards, and local stories to make understand children the concepts. Then community involvement is also important. Local volunteers or parents can help children with reading and homework. Schools should also take regular feedback from the students and can share what is working with them and what is not working. And small and gradual changes like these can make the NEP better and more effective at the ground level. This much was for me. Thank you.
Thank you. So much your PPT was really, well written and very concisely, clearly presented. I did notice you were quite nervous. I understand it happens in, first few initial meetings, but I really like the courage that you have shown today, and I hope that as this internship continues, we are able to see you and all of us grow in the future. Again, it was a great presentation.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, can we have Kohana, please?
Ma'am, I actually sent my PPT on email.
Yes, just give.
Also, before I start, I want to apologize for my bad and boring slides. Now that I have seen so many PPTs, I ensured that I will improve them and make it more creative. And also, actually, all of my points are already covered. So I will just sum it up quickly.
No worries, Kohana. Even if your points are covered, please don't feel that your PPTs or your presentation is any less than anybody else, because this, again, like we mentioned before, it's not a competition. If you learn even one thing from, reading or this activity, it's a win for us. So please don't feel that you have missed anything or you're less than anybody. It's all good.
So today I will be discussing one of the major and unique part of the NEP policy, that is foundational literacy and numeracy. As stated in Article 6.1, it is shown that Indian students lack basic and foundational knowledge. To counter this, Article 6.2 of NEP makes sure that students till the grade 3 know how to write, read, and do basic maths. Next page. Okay. So, one of the missing areas and key challenge is the lack of implementation strategy. NEP does not even discuss or explain how teachers will be retrained, how the policy will be executed, and how the administration, especially at the lower level, the district level where they do not hold much capability, and how they will execute it on their level. So, from critical perspective, NEP just assumes that teachers knows how to shift from rote-based learning to the practical and conceptual frameworks. In comparison, countries like Vietnam successfully managed to retrain their teachers and build a foundational learning system for their students. Next. So, to address these gaps, it is important that the bridge is between intent and implementation is narrowed. So the teachers must be retrained while maintaining their workload. The capacity of lower administration must be improved, and the follow-up and the monitoring of the policy should be executed so that the policy does not revolve around a mere good intent but also translate into implementation. Next slide. So my suggestion is that to actually execute and implement a policy in India, the solution should be more focused on feasibility and low cost. So the school management can retrain the teachers, local volunteers can help student practice, and even parents at their level can educate and support their kids. So the system will be based on local mentoring and also tracking the progress of the overall policy. So we are not building a whole new system, but improving internally. So it will be a low-cost system overall. Thank you.
Thank you, Kohana. Wonderful presentation. I really liked how you have included the mentions of article and research findings in it. I really like how deep you have worked on this presentation and how clearly you have put up those presentation points that you have found concisely in your presentation. It was a wonderful presentation. Yeah, and I did feel you were quite nervous throughout. Yeah, I did feel you were quite nervous throughout the presentation, but it's all right. It happens in a few initial meetings, and I hope we get to see you more confident next time. Again, it was a wonderful presentation. Thank you, Kahana. Next, can we have Maria, please?
Yes, one sec.
Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, Maria, it is visible.
Okay. I just want to start off by saying that everyone's presentations were so good. I was like genuinely, I feel like I underprepared because everyone was really well spoken and their presentations were really flawless. So I congratulate all of you guys on that. So going into this, let's start. Okay. So what stood out to me from the new education policy 2020 was that it sort of focused a lot on autonomy and flexibility for schools. It encouraged like reduced syllabus and choice-based learning. I mean, for me specifically, like I had to choose my subjects at the beginning of last year, and sort of figuring out where I stood with like science, commerce, and humanities was very difficult for me because I was always in the middle of science and humanities. So I wanted to choose subjects that would sort of, intellectually like stimulate me, not just like I couldn't fit in a particular sort of stream, and that was really difficult for me. And so this education policy, it focuses on that. It focuses on choice-based learning, which is really important. And this is significant because for years we've been told that exams are like the center of education, like our teachers teach us for exams. And then sort of this is bringing a shift in the sense that we're learning for the development of our minds and our knowledge, not just like exams. You have to like give an exam or sort of get a rank somewhere. So I think that's a very good change. And this sort of trusts schools and teachers to make decisions and not just follow sort of a sort of I don't know, like subject plan or whatever, like blindly. It teaches them to be decision makers as well. So that sort of teaches leadership to the students in the longer run. And my perspective on this, it's more like a philosophical change, and we're shifting towards a mode of education that focuses on the children's development and not just a certification that they've like sort of graduated from school. They actually get out of school learning something really valuable. I think that's pretty commendable. There are, however, a few missing areas. I think when you sort of give autonomy to so many schools on such a large scale, like the NP has done, you sort of assume that all schools have equal capability, which is not the case, especially in a country like India, where there's so much diversity in every single aspect. So you have to sort of differentiate between well-resourced private schools and under-resourced government schools because it's nowhere near the same situation, right? And this presents a risk that schools with better resources, they may benefit more. And autonomy without the support of the government, it can widen inequality, which is like the opposite of what we're trying to do here. So like differentiating between the sort of strategies you have to go into with private schools and government schools, and the different sort of like everything, the situations that everyone has is way different. So when we give someone autonomy, we have to figure out what is actually strategic and realistic so we can implement that in real life. Moving on, a critical perspective. So we also over rely on institutions by going into this policy. The policy assumes that schools and teachers will adapt to these reforms, like they'll self adapt and it'll all go over smoothly. But the actual reality is way different, right? So many schools, they lack leadership training, and they depend heavily on rigid instructions. Many teachers are they used to fix textbooks, like strict syllabuses and exam pressure. So for them to sort of move on from that and adapt to a new reform so quickly, it's not that possible. It's not that easily possible. And the main focus for us is for the children to have a good education and like a seamless education. For that, we need to go slowly and implement it step by step. We can't just throw a whole reform to schools and expect them to learn, which is just not possible in reality. And the NEP reduces regulation, but it does not sufficiently build institutional confidence. This basically means that we need to build a sort of mindset and sort of like belief that this is for the betterment of our children and for the betterment of our education system as a whole. I think that's really important to do on like a grassroots level, especially. Moving on, we now are addressing the gaps, right? So a policy level suggestion would include that we introduce school leadership training as core reform. So we have student council and we have head boys, head girls, and schools, house captains, stuff like that. So if we introduce school leadership training,
as like an actual sort of training curriculum, like as a core reform. It would teach students accountability and how to care for their own schools. And also, it's very enriching for a child to learn how to sort of embark on leadership and at such a like crucial age, especially. So introducing this as a core reform would be a great opportunity. And so this is really important, like separate frameworks for urban schools and rural schools, because as I've discussed before, it's a very different situation, because some schools have different levels of resources, where government schools or other underprivileged like areas, they might not even have like a basic level of sort of like books and stuff like that. So it's like a separate framework is really required here. And support systems, because when we start building such sort of like reforms, it's really important to have support systems, so that people have somewhere to where they can actually express their concerns, which is really important. So mentorship models such as strong school mentors and clear transition guidelines, they're really important to sort of give a seamless I don't know, like when you go into these sort of policies, right? Now, we have practical on ground solutions. So, realistic steps, because we need to implement these policies in real life. So, for that, we can appoint trained school academic coordinators at smaller levels. So, when we start with academic coordinators who are aware of the policy and what it entails, and we could start getting them to do all like in field work, it's really important. And we can provide ready to use teaching frameworks, because a lot when we're sort of stuck in that old method of rote learning and stuff like that, so moving on from that into actual value based learning, teachers would need frameworks to go along with that, and that needs to be provided. Accessibility, accessibility has to be there when we're providing that. And low cost implementable ideas, because as we know, the population of our country and the amount of people that there are is simply, we have to take into account the cost and everything, which is really important. And I think people have mentioned this before in the meeting, that teacher peer review circles, where teachers can sort of build a community and sort of share their ideas and how the NEP is going on, like how it's acting out in actual schools with children and stuff like that. When they discuss that, it could be really helpful and build a community for the teachers and for the students and parents alike. I think that could be a great idea, and it would build community and sort of make us meet real people and talk about our sort of issues and stuff like that. My final thought going into this would be, the NEP would succeed not by reducing control alone, but by building capacity before independence. By building up capacity and by preparing for the policy, it would really help us before you sort of going into blind independence, that we just have this one policy and we go into it. We need to plan it out, and we need to sort of build capacity in a large sort of scale of schools before we go into this really sort of full force. I think that's my sort of view on this. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Maria. First of all, I would like to say your PPT was very well structured. It was broken down into points and subpoints. So it's very easy and clear to read. In addition to that, you talked about choice-based, selection of autonomy of subjects. I think it is very important for government to address this topic, since we do not nobody fits into that certain mold of either one wants to take science or one wants to take humanities, like you said from your experience. So yeah, policies are needed to regulate this, so an individual has more freedom to choose what they want to learn. In addition to that, you talked about training teachers and management and soft skills, like how to lead, how to manage teams. It's often overlooked, but it is very important, I feel. Agreeing with you that these things, the structure of how a school works or how an organization works is very much dependent on the leader, and these skills are very essential for a leader to have. So I really like that unique perspective that you put onto it. It was a wonderful presentation. It was really great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Again, one more thing, we're just exceeding the time limit a little bit. I mean, I appreciate you all have worked really hard on this, and if I was in your place, I would also want to talk and, hours and hours for this, but let's just try to wrap it up quickly.
I'll keep in mind. Thank you.
Yeah. No worries, Maya. Can we have Mugdha next?
Yes, just give me a minute, please.
Sure.
Uh, is my screen visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Hope everybody is doing well. I won't take much of your time either, but okay, let's start. So I call it a critical analysis into vision versus viability. You will see that this would be a recurrent theme during my presentation, where I would talk about what the NEP has tried to structure in its document, in the whole document, but how viable or how practically applicable it is in today's context with regards to our country. So let's start. um, so here are some visionary elements that I identified when I was going through the document. It was a rather rigorous read, and as many people have pointed out, it is almost too perfect on paper. It's really difficult to, pinpoint the limitations or anything. But I would like to talk about the strengths first. The first is definitely the revised structure. It has gone from 10 plus 2 to 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. And I'm a student of psychology, so the first thing that it really hit me was it resonates with a psychologist's theory, the Erikson psychosocial stages. If somebody here learns psychology, they understand. So the structure of our educational duration is basically now that it recognizes psychodevelopmental stages, and evidence-based the policy making is rooted in cognitive science, which I think is a really good initiative, steering away from our traditional orthodox rote learning and merit based education. The second one is, of course, foundational literacy as priority. The policy document is also very honest because about the struggle. 5 crore children struggle with basic skills as mentioned in the policy. And in fact, it was one of their uh, ambitions to achieve foundational literacy by 2025. Unfortunately, it hasn't been implemented, or it hasn't been successful so far, but hopefully it can be successful in the upcoming years. It's also the experiential learning vision. It's a shift to critical thinking reforms and assessment, vocational integration through arts, through sports. The pedagogy has completely transformed. There's also a focus on inclusion and equity, as
Minutes
some of
are
the
up.
some of this previous speakers spoke about. So SEDG, special education zones, gender inclusion fund, and interdisciplinarity, of course. Some missing areas that I found were absent critical topics like health safety education, abuse prevention, puberty, consent, sex education, digital safety. NEP relies a whole lot on digital tools, but there are instances of cyberbullying, online predators, data privacy that haven't been addressed in the policy. Inadequate provisions, the mother tongue policy, many people have already talked about it before. What happens to migrant children who move from one state to another? What language do they follow? So it's a dilemma there. There is also problems on the supply side. There's a teacher shortage crisis. There's a cumbersome traditional recruitment process, the teacher pupil ratio, burnout. And India is a country with massive brain drain. So people are always on the opportunity to leave the country instead of working for the country. So again, that is an issue to be tackled. Um, the perfection is the flaw, I would say. It will identify nearly every gap in Indian education. It's exceptionally comprehensive, but it is trying to fix everything at once. There's a lack of prioritization, which can complexify implementation. The curriculum question, so it seeks to reduce content and focus on core essentials, but also is simultaneously adding coding, AI, vocational skills, languages, values. It will raise visibility concerns within existing school hours and, of course, burnout teachers as well. Vision versus resources, many others have identified the same problem. We don't have the infrastructure to implement most of the reforms that the NEP has talked about. So, for policy improvements, I would rather suggest a single implementation authority. Currently, the NEP is fragmented under different ministries. I hope we can come up with an implementation authority, one executive body whose only function would be to track NEP's outcomes. revitalizing the teacher, basically differential pay, more organized recruitment, clear career pathways, and of course, addressing uncomfortable gaps like age appropriate health, safety, education, digital citizenship alongside digital literacy. And practical suggestions, as many of the others have already talked about. We got a pilot, learn, and scale before just applying the policy directly. Leveraging existing capacity, public private NGO partnerships, teacher support systems, and digital implementation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mugda. It was actually a very good presentation. You have, just seeing your presentation, I can clearly see that you have put so much effort into reading the document and, compiling in it. And it is a very difficult job to, you have so much material to present it. To write about, but you presented it in a very concise way that it was not too overbearing or the slides were not too overloaded. But still, if I could read the slides, there was good amount of information present for me to know the background. And in addition to that, I really liked how you have approached this with a multi-disciplinary perspective. Like you mentioned, the Erickson psychosocial stages, I have read those as well. So I really like how you inculcated all these disciplines into, analyzing the policy from a very unique angle. So it was actually a very, very good PPT, and your confidence while speaking and everything, it was just great. Good job. It was wonderful.
Thank you.
No worries. Next, we have Muskan. Muskan, can
Yes,
we
ma'am.
you have?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, could you please present my PPT?
Sure.
So, good evening, everyone. NEP 2020 has a big vision for the school education. It wants education to start from the age of 3. It focuses on foundational literacy and numeracy for all. And it also talks about the dropout reduction and focusing on the holistic and multilingual learning. So, on paper, it looks like a complete reforms, but when we look in reality, that doesn't happen. So moving on to the next slide. Ma'am, could you please move on to the next slide? Where the gap exists. So, talking about the gap, we are going to focus on the 4 points. The first point talks about that NEP 2020 didn't create ECCE. It existed before as well. When we were kids, like when we were around 4 to 5 years old, ECC exists back then as well. It talks about that there should be primary education, there should be primary schools, anganwadis, and play schools. And when we were kids, we have seen that like we have also went to the play school, but it wasn't on the paperwork. Uh, right now, they are presenting it on paperwork, and if we see that the middle class family students, children, they have always been gone to the play school, but now we are just focusing on the children who comes out from the lower class, and they doesn't go to the these the children from like for example the children of laborers or the construction site workers, they doesn't go to the play school, and back then also those children haven't gone to the play schools. So NEP 2020 didn't create ECC, it mainly formalized it on the paper. The real challenge is not policy but reaching that the children who are actually inside the who are actually outside the system. And the next point talks about that the children are enrolled, but they are not learning because the students are still treated as exam units. The main focus of this education system is on exams. They are not focusing on the learning level. The enrollment ratio is quite high, but the learning level is still very low. So, focusing on the next
Two
point, it
minutes,
talks
Sarah.
about okay, ma'am. The policy assumes that if the facilities exist, the children will come. But the real dropout reason is not just infrastructure; it is poverty, migration, and survival. And it also talks about holistic development, languages, values, creativity. But the system that has to deliver it, it doesn't actually care. So, moving on to the next slide, it talks about why the implementation fails. To make NEP work in reality, we need system. that is actually gonna help these reaching out to these children. It talks about that the systems only change when the behavior is forced. So if there will be no monitoring, there will be no penalties for the failure, it is never going to change. There should be some strict restrictions or action should be taken so that we can make changes. So we should just focus on monitoring penalties for the failures. Next point talks about no incentive system exists. It talks about that why would a teacher is going to focus on a children whether they are learning or not if they are not going to if they are not provided with the incentive, because at the end of the day right now the mostly the teacher focuses on like they are providing education. They doesn't care whether the student is learning or not. They are only focusing whether the syllabus is completed, whether they have just whether the exams are being held on time, the internals are taken on the time, assignments are being taken. They doesn't care whether the students are actually learning or not. So only we have to make some kind of systems which focus on the incentives that the teacher feels like yeah the main focus should be on learning, not on completing the syllabus on time and exams, etc. So there is no incentive system that actually exists that can make the teachers feel like the main priority should be learning. Next point talks about the poverty, migration, survival. The the main reason, like if we are not considering um, like the poor class, the main reason the children are not actually able to study is that the poverty, migration, and the survival actually takes those children out from joining the schools or whenever there are the dropouts. The main reasons are these. So next point is tribal and poor children are in policy but not in practice. When I just read this complete NP 2020 policy, it talked about that there are so many organization ministries that are actually working for that tribal people. Children are also getting education, but that is only on paperwork. These things are not actually happening in the real life. Ma'am, moving on to the next slide.
Sure, but please try to wrap it up.
Okay, ma'am. So how these gaps can be addressed? Like we can link the ECCE enrollment to the ration cards and the migrant records. The performance-based pays for the teachers that a teacher is provided with a bonus when the dropouts have been decreased and when the students have actually scored good grades and they have actually learned so much, their learning levels have been improved. And penalties should be accountable for non-functional Anganwadis, educational credits to the parents whose children are enrolled in ECCE and Bal Batikas and primary schools. ECCE and Anganwadis Bal Batikas should be located near construction sites, traffic points, slum areas, because we can make it. We doesn't have to make it that the children are being we are taking the children to the Anganwadis or Bal Batikas. We have to bring those Anganwadis, Bal Batikas, or primary school to the places where these children are. So NEP 2020 has the right ideas, but the only strong implementation and accountability can turn those ideas into a real change. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Muskan. I really liked your confidence while presenting. The way you explained your points, it's very clear that you have read in depth about the topic, explored multiple angles. It was a great presentation. Thank you, Muskan.
Thank you, ma'am.
Next, can we have Shivangi, please?
Just a second.
Sure.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So greetings, team. My what I could grasp from NP and what the critical points that I would like to present here. First of all, what is the things that I liked, highlights, and unique perspectives? Firstly, is that we see a lot of emphasis on holistic health in creating 100% immunization tracking and digital health cards for the first time. And secondly, there's a restructuring of the foundational years, that is the ages from 0 to 3 and age group 3 to 8 have been incorporated into NEP, which is a very new initiative that's been taken under this policy. Thirdly, the introduction of peer tutoring and working peer groups for ensuring that female students can also have participation and they can also have access to education. And fourth and the last is that the idea of not engaging teachers in non-teaching administrative tasks to safeguard instructional time is one which has been emphasized, and also the maintenance of ratio to keep it under 30 to 1 or for 25 is to 1 ratio. Secondly, what were the gaps which were there, which they did not address? First of all, the urban government schools. While rural infrastructure is a focus, they did not really mention a lot the about urban government schools. Secondly, they do not address the unauthorized schools which do exist in the local areas and which do not have affiliation with most of the state or the central boards. Thirdly, they do focus upon the interest, but they do not focus upon the individualized learning. Uh, and there is no specific or concrete framework towards how they will respond to the interest learning, wherein the, the grasping power and the pace of the child to learn things is taken into context.
Minute,
Fourth,
Sarah.
they do talk about dropout rates. Okay, dropout rates, but the infrastructure and curriculum focus is mainly on the schooling and the interest part, but they do not address the social economic factors. The logistical barriers, there's significant implementation hurdles in how the standardized vocational courses, and they do school complex logistics. They do not give us a specific metric of how they are going to assess the accessibility factor, which they try to bring in the school logistics. Affordability is again an issue, and the kind of training program they bring about the for the teachers is more superficial because it is more digitalized and it does not really has a lot of physical engagement involvement by the teachers. Now, what are the things which are problematic? First of all, over reliance on teachers. Teachers are expected to conduct various co-curriculums, and also the teachers who have to go for far and remote areas are not addressed or not duly taken into context. Secondly, vocational programs. There's a risk of turning vocational programs into grade-oriented thing. Also, there are certain these kids that are coming are already from the background where they do have some sort of vocational services running in their families. So, how there would be free interest and unbiased way of selection? It is that question has not been answered. Thirdly, there's an invisible pressure because if NEP reduces the curriculum, and then they do come with point that the NT and the CUT would be introduced. So the lot of high stakes exams would accept it, but it is not a binding thing for most of the institutions, which means that they are going to prepare for private exams and the syllabus would be different. So how are they going to deal with the invisible pressure that might create? And fourth, the language barrier. There is chances that the schools in North may not provide teachers for South Indian languages, rendering the native language choice becoming an illusion. Also, there is a neglect of dialect because if you're standardizing and taking up the 22nd schedule, uh, sanitized languages, then you're ignoring the local dialects. Also, because as one foreign language can be taken, so this might create a division between the schools which are providing foreign languages and which are not providing foreign languages. Lastly, what are the policy related solutions? Uh, Mandating one foreign language and two Indian languages from different zones to foster true national integration. For core curriculums, state finance stipends and monetary rewards for students excelling in core curricula, so treat them at par with academic toppers. For teachers, the promotion should be tied to participation rate and student holistic growth and not just exam scores for evaluation. Also, specialized field personnel to hire dedicated experiential educators specifically to manage field trips and vocational programs, freeing up the regular teacher. For dropouts, reducing dropouts through attendance linked incentives and tiered nutritional support, and also aligning university entrance exams with the reduced school curriculum so that we can bridge the gap between the ones who are represented and the ones who are not or who are underrepresented in the higher education. Sensitizing children about various kinds of professions and communities so that they can unbiasedly choose whatever vocational programs they want to choose. And also, the curriculum should include subjects like agriculture and local work so that the relatability and the relevance for studying would remain, and also the connectivity with the local uh, things or the local surroundings is still visible. Now, what is a practical solution? Most of these could be done if we give students a chance to govern themselves. That is, introduction of personal accountability. So the students can form their student councils, co-curricular groups, or peer groups. Peer groups are already being introduced in the NEP, but we can take it a step ahead and form student councils where teacher would act as a convener, but students are coming forward to uh, make sure that the drop why certain somebody is dropping out and to help them come back to school, and also manage the vocational allotments and develop community uh, problems. Now, for sensitization issues towards vocational programs of various works and professions, even teacher can explain options to the children, and connected NGO, which is been collaborating with the school, can take part. Thank you.
Thank you, Shivangi. I really appreciate your hard work in putting this document together. You have really well voiced the document that we have sent. It's really great. Your presentation was wonderful. You went through the material in depth, and you tried to sum up everything that was present in the PPT. Sorry, the document, NEP document, and your effort was really great. In addition to that, your confidence was also very well. For next time, I would suggest that in a PPT, try not to put a lot of information on a PPT. Keeping it concise is the very core of uh, present putting the words in PPT. So you can either make up notes or pointers of it and keep it with yourself in your script. But when working on PPT, try to make the content in it concise. But overall, it was wonderful. And the solutions that you proposed that were very specific, and how to tackle what specific problems. So I really like that. Again, a great presentation, Shivang. Well done.
Thank you. I'll keep in mind the points that you mentioned.
Sure. Next, can we have Sugandhi, please?
Yes, ma'am. Just a second. Is it visible, ma'am?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Basically, I took a few points from the NEP document and kind of shared my views on it and then ended it with the solutions part. So, starting off, in this point, curriculum frameworks and transaction mechanisms will be developed for ensuring that these skills and values are imbibed through engaging processes of teaching and learning. And what I would like to point out here is that developing a skill and nurturing values are completely different. And particularly when it comes to values, it is so much more harder to quantify. So the approach taken to these are not really specified. And talking about specificity, um, I would also like to talk about this. Subjects such as physical education, the arts and the crafts, and vocational skills, in addition to science, humanities, and the mathematics, will be incorporated throughout the school curriculum with a consideration for what is interesting and safe at each age. And as many people have pointed out, the thing is, even though it is very ideal to kind of have these vision, the extent to which it can be implemented and how much weightage will be given, for example, how many hours will be given for the co-curricular activities, or how they will go about kind of implementing these big changes, and what measures would be taken if the school do not consider this important, what incentives would they be given, things that I worry about. And one more thing is that it was mentioned that NCRT will identify these required skill sets and include it in the national curriculum framework. But there is a very big problem that I feel like that is often overlooked. NCRT, from what I have seen, as I'm from state syllabus, so correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I've seen is that it tends to exclude a lot of things from South India, especially important historical facts, figures, even sciences. For example, it often does not really touch upon the contributions of E.V. Periyar, who is a very prominent social reformer in the field of caste and feminism. And it doesn't mention about Kirari, and it doesn't the list goes on and so on and so forth. It kind of eradicates the voices of so many regional people. And for that, to be so involved in NEP, I feel like there should be more inclusivity and more, considerations made so that it doesn't stop with just exclusion, but starts including people as such. And um, it was also mentioned that the ECCE qualifications can be done, like the teachers can be kind of qualified through digital mode. I felt like that could lead to potential cheating, and it might also result in a drop in the quality of training required to be teachers. And with regard to dropout rate, as other people have also mentioned, the main cause was not addressed. The main cause is the financial instability of parents to provide food, water, and shelter. And even though the other things are great to work upon, this is the root issue that has not been addressed, the basic quality of life. So they will have to, this brings me to one of the solutions. They will have to work with other departments such as Ministry of Welfare as such to address the core underlying issues. Like, it's not a one size fits all. Every single issue has many other underlying issues in different areas that need to be addressed as well. So they will have to work on that instead of giving superficial techniques to lay upon. And as I previously mentioned, they should be more specific in the ways to which they plan to implement the policy gaps. Instead of just the vision, they also need to have the ways in which they can implement it, and to also acknowledge and include various subject knowledge from all over India before kind of framing the syllabus or working upon policies. That would conclude my presentation.
Thank you so much. Your presentation, I really liked how concise you kept the presentation while still putting your points overall. Like I was mentioning, keeping whatever you have found and whatever your thoughts are on a side script and notes, and presenting very concise content on the PPT. It was very well done. PPT, and overall I liked how you put your views on it. And while you mentioned of NCRT, I feel the same, that it does include a lot of regional and uh, it is very north and mainland oriented. So it would have to be, the government would have to work on that. And yeah, it was overall a great presentation. Uh, Thank you so much.
Thank
you. Can we have Swapnil next?
Ma'am, is my voice audible?
Yes, it is, Swapnil.
Yes, ma'am. So wait a minute. And is the screen visible?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so good evening, everyone. So I would like to start with this thing. So what's the most unique feature which I liked in the NEP was the shift from building the good humans and not just students. So we have seen in the NEP that it talks about revamping the ancient values, like the ones which we had the time of Takshila and Nalanda. And the education of that time was focused on not just like learning new things, but to liberate oneself. So in the modern form, those values are included in the forms like the first thing is the breaking of the vocational stigma. So the policy introduces fun courses from grade 6 to 8 in skills like carpentry, gardening, and pottery. So why it matters? So it matters because it creates dignity for labor early on, moving away from the idea that these are the inferior jobs. The second thing is the rooted knowledge in the ancient history and curricular and cultures of India. So why it's important is it ensures students that they remain connected to their heritage. And the third thing is the ethical and human values. So the students are taught and dedicatedly focused on the human values like tolerance, empathy, and service. So this not just shapes their characters, but it makes them learn something more than just the academics. So the next thing is the missing areas and implementations challenges. So the first missing area which I found was the framework of the research mindset. So in schools, we have seen this, like when projects were given to us, mostly what we did was we just searched on Google, we got the information and we wrote about those things. But hardly we did any market research or like finding about why it is there, what can we do, what are the things which are lagging behind. So, but like if we compare it with US or China, so they have like thesis and presentations. So we lack that in the school time. So this was the very first thing. And the second thing was the risk of school consolidation. So this is a thing which we have seen in news recently in Uttar Pradesh. So what it was the merging of small schools into the large school complexes within 5 to 10 kilometer radius, of course, to share resources. So the danger for this was for the underprivileged students who had to walk to the nearby schools. So what it meant was the parents hesitated to send their schools which were at large distances, and this led to dropouts and like efficiency shouldn't come at the cost of access. So if we want the efficient schools, then we can like have some other policy to like encourage this. The third thing is the critical perspective. So, like the policy feels great on paper, but while it is implemented, there are certain areas where it still lags. So the first area is the common exam trap. So what this thing is like, it tries to eliminate the coaching culture, but it still places like a single exam system. So while this single exam system thing is there, we can't evaluate students on the single exam basis. Like I am a like engineering student, so I've come here by passing JE, and still the JE culture is there. We aren't moving from the JE. Like we can have some sports or other thing into the scores. We just don't have to evaluate them on a single basis. The second thing is the vague partnership models. So the policy also suggests twinning of government and private schools, but it offers no incentives. So without the cooperation of private schools, it won't be possible to like twin them together. The third thing is the box infrastructure reality. So this is a thing which I have seen in my local schools, in my local areas, basically. So what it means is like the infrastructure funds which are provided are really quite efficient, and it's been there. Like I've seen smart boards and televisions which have been provided to schools, but they have just been kept there and it hasn't even been opened. So if the technology which is provided, if it's not being used, then how can we like say that the like proper education is possible? So the next thing is the policy level improvements which we can do to make it a bit better. So the very first thing is independent infrastructure audit. So we have seen this like the lack of responsibility in these government authorities. So there isn't any like independent audit authority which is present, which like audits these things. and basically report about these things. So we need to establish an audit body which reports directly to the state boards, bypassing local authorities, because in these local authorities the maximum chances of corruption are there. The second thing is mandatory resource MOUs. So it moves from encouraging partnership to mandating MOUs between private and government schools, so that we don't have to like just be dependent on private schools, but legally there would be a sharing between these two. The third thing is hybrid university admission. So we have to reduce the reliance on a single exam system, and we have to move towards a different examination basis. So a 70-30 weightage, which I have seen, the 70% for the entrance examination and the 30 thing for the school thing, like their report cards or the sports quota and anything which the student is good at. The practical suggestions or the on ground solutions which can be done, the first thing is the real world thesis project. So what it means is the student need to identify a local problem. So they need to go on their local areas, they need to see what problems are there, what markets lack. So they need to research about that, and they need to develop some solution regarding that. And the second thing is particularly about the midday meal issue. So although the policy mentions that they need to improve nutrition in the midday meal, but they don't talk about like some proper methodology to do that. So I've suggested basically a system for that. So what we can do in this is we can hire some local, like the mothers of those students, to cook the meals for the students. So like what the effect it will have is the mothers inherently care most about the food quality. So we will be ensured that the food quality which will be served will obviously be good. And the second thing is it provides local employment, and it also increases the awareness of the parents about the nutrition values, how much proteins and carbohydrates a child need to intake in a day. So that's it. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Swapnil. First of all, it was
Ma'am,
actually
I was a
very
bit hesitant while
no,
speaking, so
no, it's all right. Initially, we all are a little bit hesitant and nervous. I was also in, my initial presentations, but it was actually very good, very detailed. Your solutions were very specific. The problems you pointed out were very up to the point. You presented a very, very detailed view of these are the problems. I really liked your presentation. It was actually very good and interesting.
thank you, ma'am.
And just from the next time about the content, just keep the content a little less. Try to keep it
Yes, ma'am.
concise in the PPT. Uh, but it was very, very detailed. It was really great. Well done,
Thank you,
Swapnil.
ma'am.
Next, can we have Twinkle, please?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I'm audible. Hello? Ma'am,
Yes,
I'm
Twinkle.
audible.
Yes.
Just a minute. Ma'am, is my screen is visible?
No, your screen is not visible, Twinkle.
Just a minute.
Twinkle, if you don't mind, since we are on a time crunch, since while you solve this issue, can we move on to Yashashri? Till
Yes,
then,
yes, ma'am.
we can come back again.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure. Just give me a second to share my screen and I'll continue.
Sure.
I hope my screen is visible to all of you.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is, Yusuf.
Okay. Since the meeting has gone on very long, I'll just keep it brief and explain everything that I understood from the policy and what are the key points that I took away and what problems and gaps I saw that and they could be improved upon. So, to go for an overall view of the policy covers the major key points, is the inclusion of students with diverse backgrounds and distinct challenges. Because it had mention of girl children, transgender students, economically, socially backward students, mentally or physically challenged students, as well as to make sure that they all have equal opportunities and they all have equal access to education. There was a specific mention that the economic view, sorry, the specially challenged students have an option whether or not they want to attend a regular school or a special school, and that I think is great because it would give them an opportunity to decide for themselves, because there are many times that it's forced upon them and they're not able to uh, accustomed to such a change. So I think that's great. Some key points that stood out to me, as has been mentioned, and some of them have been mentioned already, but I'll just go through them again. First was that there was no hard separation between the arts and the sciences. Of course, there is some sort of stereotype that science is more difficult than humanities subjects, and if you take science, you're supposed to be like an extraordinary student, and in science opens a lot of doors for you, so that's why you're supposed to get science with maths, and that's great and all, but they often overlook the importance and what the kind of knowledge that the art subjects would give you. And so this policy brings that there will be no hard separation between them, which I think is amazing. The second is the introduction of the 5+3+3+4 system instead of the previous 10+2 system. This focuses on more foundational learning and then building up on that, which I think is very important, as because the when we go from nursery to prep and then suddenly it's first grade, second grade, third grade, there is a bit of a disconnect between what we learn, and to have a foundation and then building up on it would help us grow more, rather than just a sudden change between the syllabus and the kind of things that you're learning. Third, we move on to the introduction of foreign languages. Of course, with such as we're moving towards a more globally interconnected world, it's necessary that
Sorry
we
to
don't.
interrupt, Yashasvi. Sorry to interrupt, but is
Yeah,
it my screen only? But I think your screen is frozen. We can only see the first slide.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I mean, I am sharing it. I'll
No
try
worries.
again. I'm so sorry. I think it's my network, but I'll I'll just share it again if that's okay.
Yeah, sure, sure.
Okay, I hope it's visible now.
Uh, just a second. Yes, it is. Yes.
Okay, that's great. I'll just continue. So, the introduction of foreign languages, as we're moving towards a more globally interconnected world, I think it's very necessary that we don't limit ourselves to learning just English or Hindi or whatever third language we took between fourth and eighth grade. I think language learning is also such an intricate process, and it engages your mind in such a different way that you're able to understand different meanings and different characters, which will ultimately result in a different kind of cognitive growth, which I think is again really important. The standardization of Indian Sign Language is something that I personally feel is very important, and I love that this policy is introducing that, though it has not been implemented yet the in such an extensive way. But I think it's really important that Indian Sign Language be either compulsory or be stressed upon really well, because it leads to an inclusion of a it leads to inclusion, and it's just honestly really necessary is what I feel like. uh then we move on to emphasis on tribal knowledge and indigenous and traditional ways of learning, because I feel like as we move towards such a modern era and we chase that city life, we often forget our roots and where we actually come from. Sixth is the introduction of the continuous professional development courses for teachers. This I feel is very important because there are new technologies being introduced, there are new ways of learning being introduced, there are new ways of teaching being introduced continuously, and the teachers may not be up to date. So it's really necessary that we do keep them up to date so that they are able to be in a continuous sync with the students that they're teaching. Then we move on to the Gender Inclusion Fund, which is basically for girls, children, and transgenders, and to make sure that they have equal opportunities and equal access. Moving on to the problems, gaps, and the actual reality of the situation. Uh, teach, Even if we're introducing transgender students and girl students and we're promoting equality for them, we're promoting equal access for them, it's really, before we do that, it's important to sensitize these students and to teach them to teach them gender studies, to promote understanding between them. uh, it was mentioned that universal foundation literacy should have been achieved by 2025, which has still not been achieved. The teacher to student ratios are still extremely skewed, where a teacher has to teach a class of 50 students and they're not able to engage with them one on one, and they're not able to give them that attention that this policy underlines that they should be able to give them. The standardization of Indian Sign Language, as I previously mentioned, it's still not been done. The curriculum was supposed to be reduced to its core essentials, but instead it's leading to deletion of whole chapters of historical importance and significance. If I were to give an example, we have three books of history in 12th grade, but there is a whole Mughal era that's been deleted from the syllabus, which leads to a break in the historical continuity, and it leads to a break in the kind of knowledge and the information that we're supposed to be able to learn. Then we move on to competency based learning. It's being stressed upon so much that you're supposed to do these MCQs, you're supposed to do a competency based learning, you're supposed to do this, that, but it's still not a proper framework. There's still no specific guidelines towards it. The introduction of vocational courses, it's an amicable step, and the internships for the 6th to 8th grade students is again a very good step. But to learn and understand what they're doing within 10 days for such a young mind is not feasible at all. The teacher qualifications are not being reinforced. There are several incidents where in the government schools there are teachers who are generously paid, but they do not have any kind of qualifications at all because proper background checks are not being conducted. The entrance exams were supposed to be introduced and reconfigured to eliminate the need to undertake coaching, but instead, these examinations are the reason why people are taking coaching. I just graduate. I mean, I just got admission to college, and I remember the process of going to the CUET coaching every weekend, preparing for it every day, and it's a very exhausting process. The NTA was supposed to be a premier institute for education, but it's committed several fallacies. We've all seen in the news that there are several incidents where they're supposed to where the students are at examination center. They're at an examination center, but there's a sudden change in the examination center, and they have to sprint across town. There is the conditions in which they have to give their exams are not at all feasible. They're just horrendous situations being they're just horrendous situations, and the students are in a lot of stress. The general and target solutions that I would suggest are, yes, there is a need for total reconstruction and reorganization of the educational system, but before you suddenly do that, there is the need for clear framework and how it is to be implemented, because the practices that they were supposed to follow are not being followed at all. The introduction of courses in gender studies and general financial literacy, it's something that I feel is very important, because we graduate colleges, we graduate schools, but we do not have the basic knowledge of how to file our taxes, which which is something that is required for any individual after a certain age. The standardization of Indian Sign Language, again, which I'm stressing upon that. Defining the core essentials, and not deleting topics completely, but instead doing a redivision of the syllabus so that you can introduce something in one grade at a subpar level, and then you can expand on it in another. Restructuring supervising institutions, because as I already mentioned, there are several fallacies, there are several incidents that clearly state that the that there is no proper supervision, and there are still corrupt practices being taken place. And all in all, there's the need for clear guidelines and a proper framework to be established to avoid stress and sudden changes. And with that, I end my presentation. Thank you all so much for listening. And if you have anything, I'm here to hear.
Thank you, Sashri. It was a wonderful presentation. I really liked how you talked about the ground realities from the, you know, entrance exam mishaps to inclusive education, which is especially like how you talked about including gender studies, because most often when we talk about inclusive education, we just talk about, in providing education to a wider, diverse group of people, but we often fail to acknowledge the challenges and the consequences that come along it. And it is very important to address those in the policies as well, so to make the learning more fruitful. So I really like that take on the NEP. Overall, I really liked how you have, you know, in depth and talked about your personal experiences. So yeah, it was a wonderful presentation.
I'm sorry, I just realized I did not have my video on. I really did not realize it while I was presenting. I'm so sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries. We all will learn as we go. But again, wonderful presentation. Next, we will have Ishita, and then we can have Twinkle, and then we can wrap it up. Yes, Ishita, you may please start.
Yes, ma'am. Give me a second. Is my screen visible, ma'am?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Ashita. I would be presenting on national education policy. So, firstly, I would like to talk about things which I found interesting, which is the curriculum and pedagogy, which is the experimental learning. It encourages us to break free from the traditional classroom learning setup, where we can actually encourage the students to participate in the real understanding. We can also involve the procedures which actually involves them in the learning process. For example, there are inquiry driven methods and discovery oriented, which majorly focuses on the learner. And the learning method is not really one way directional, rather than it is two-way directional, where the teacher also get to hear what the students want to present, and they could um, also tell them through stories and etc. The next point, which is equitable education, focusing majorly on the special education zones. So it is for providing a equal platform for every kid, irrespective of their gender, age, caste, and residence. So it is basically for the children who are from really disadvantaged socioeconomic groups. It is highly beneficial for them, and it also encourages female education, because we can see that even though we have come to the 21st century, in many places the female education is not really taken care of, it is neglected. Also, for example, from the place I am, I usually see that the female students are usually dropping out after the 10th class and they are getting married. And so later I would like to talk about the challenges which are being there from the NEP. So, firstly, there are high dropouts. The low GER, which is the gross enrollment ratio, it drops significantly after the grade 5th and 8th. According to the study which has been happened in the 2017 to 2018, we can see that approximately there are 3.2 crore children aged between 6 to 17 are out of schools. It is usually happening because there are several reasons like poverty, because of which the school seems unattainable to the students. There are social and cultural barriers which push the students away from the schools and towards the child labor. And there is also the poor infrastructure, and there is no proper maintenance of the schools, and the students are not really encouraged even by the parents. And later, the lack of quality of ECC, which is the early childhood development care and education. It is that there are disadvantages that the children are not really exposed to the care which should be provided to them before the age of 6. It is usually skipped before they could even get to experience it, or maybe there are places where there are not really child friendly learning environment for them to grasp anything from it. And later there is this foundational literacy and numeracy, which is the FLN. It is usually the ability for the children to grasp the basic text or do the mathematic expressions, which is a training level course, but usually it has also been skipped. So there is a gap between the current learning levels and also the desired outcomes. The students really face difficulties in the learning. There is a social and economic infrastructure barriers which are being faced by the rural and remote area students who usually think that they lack a home learning environment. Later, there is the status of the teachers. We can see that the teachers are not really given proper training. Also, according to the uh, additional to that, there is also the teacher eligibility tests which are usually skipped by them. So they should be given proper training, and the capacity is not really matched to the school level. And which I found missing personally is the mental health and emotional well-being of the teachers. So we should actually take care of it because it directly impacts the teacher quality and the student outcome and the school environment overall. And we should also help them to take care of their stress management levels, because they have been put under constant pressure, which might not be forced, but it might happen because they need to take care of a lot of children. Later, I would like to talk about the practical solutions, which is that we need to organize a teacher well-being program. So for this, we need to make sure that the teachers are not really having the frequent transfers, which usually happens in the government school levels, and we need to give them proper training, and they need to be exposed with methods which would help them to cope up with their pressure. Later, providing internships for the students to tackle the dropouts. Because these dropouts happen significantly after the eighth grade, we need to teach them skills that would actually help them to stay in the schools. And they don't necessarily have to go anywhere to fetch some skills from anywhere, because it would be given directly by the schools. It would be really helpful for them in the future also. And later, the organizing the FLN challenges in between of schools. So the major aim is to make it competitive and encourage schools to participate in the NEP. We can see that the pros can be that there is a good representation level of schools on district level and state levels. Also, the kids would be able to involve in this competitions, and they could also comprehend the text and do basic maths. This competitiveness can make the learning fun. And with that, I would like to conclude my speech. Thank you.
Thank you, Ishita. A wonderful presentation. One thing that I found really interesting in all of your presentations is that how you all, include your real life examples to, put up your points in the presentation. So that's really great to see. In addition to that, I found it really interesting that you mentioned about teachers' mental health. Now that you mentioned it, I feel like it is also often overlooked. We rarely talk about mental health, and even when we do, we only talk about students' mental health. But it is also important, like agreeing with you to be to make teachers be more resourceful and to manage their mental health as well, since they are the one teaching the students. And it's a very give and take system. The teacher, when if a teacher is not himself right in the right state of mind, what can they be do to students? So this is also often looked in policies, and I completely agree with you on this point. So great presentation. Wonderful elaboration. Your slides were concise. I really like the presentation. Thank you, Shita.
Thank you, ma'am.
Now we will have Twinkle and then we can wrap it up. Allow me a moment to share my. Twinkle, you may start.
Ma'am, I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
In this, I have generally explained my point of view, how I have feel about this. In this, I have told in introduction that in school, teachers should help students to understand the concept rather than uh, rote learning for exams. By understanding the concept, it is good for students so that they can get help from that knowledge in future. Uh, that grade grade should not tell how a student is. Is he is he or she is more capable of doing something or not? School should motivate students to build their character and get to know about their interests. In my point of view, I generally think that grades should be not just according to the how a student is in studies, but how he treats he treats his classmates or respect teachers or the ground staff. Ma'am, can you change the slide, please? uh, I have written my point of view that I have felt that written exam patterns should be changed because we can see that in current scenario for government exams or any entrance exam there are MCQ based question. The theoretical base is more base questions are rarely we can see that uh, if after fifth standard in school students should learn the, the questions or answer question paper should be MCQ based. uh, MCQ based question will help student to for the higher studies as I mentioned below, because the fifth standard in my opinion is a stage in which a student gets to know the complexity of the topics. The topic started to become more complex and in depth, and which can help students to get to know about a particular topic or can help him to understand it. Ma'am, can you change the slide? uh, Lacking the main thing which I feel is like in every student life is that how to manage a time. I personally had also faced this problem, the how to manage my time, how to prioritize my things, what should be in the first priority list on my and then the second. Most student had faced this problem after completing 12th, and still I have seen many students they are still facing how to manage their time. Ma'am, can you change the slide? uh, I have suggested that the system no should be Mm. Not only on the basis of the marks, just and it should be also according to extracurricular how they are uh, coping in the helping other students, extracurricular sports, dance, any other field. Because I have personally experienced that I have taught a student a year ago in which she was a bright student, but her parents usually pressured her. She got around 85 to 90%, but her parents forced her to study more harder and get 95 to 97 percentage due to the increasing competition among the youth in the current time. These all are my suggestions for that. That's it.
Twinkle, great presentation. Again, I really like how you have put up your real life examples and how you have taken those instances and formed the content. Also, how you mentioned that there should be change in format. I feel like that is a very unique idea, and if worked upon well, can do wonders for the education system. Um, Great presentation. Thank you, Twinkle. Okay,
Thank you.
so yeah, no worries. So with this, we wrap the presentations up. Is anybody left? Are we missing someone? Uh, no, I guess. I think we have more or less covered everyone. So first of all, I would like to thank you all for sitting through this, meeting. Usually we do not have such long meetings, but since today we were introducing a new format of presentations, and uh, it was our first time as well. So the PPT stretched out for a bit. So I guess we all learned something new from this experience. Um, and yeah, once again, thank you all for your patience, and all of your ideas were really, really great. I like how you have, related it to your real life. And one thing was very clear to me, all of you have read about the document in very, very detail. And I really like the enthusiasm and the excitement you all have for this internship, and I hope to see it continue in the future. And yes, thank you so much for being present here today, and thank you for sharing your wonderful, wonderful views today. Thank you, everyone. You may leave.
Thank you. Good night, Mom.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Good night.
Thank you. No worries.